Kickstart your morning with Randy Karraker, Brooke Grimsley, and Carey Davis on the opening drive. Presented by Sumner One.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN. It is Friday. Happy Friday to you. It's 7 o'clock on Friday. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley is here smiling. Carey Davis is here smiling. I'm Randy Karraker here smiling. We're just going to have a great day. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm super excited. It's Friday. It's still hot outside, and CD has a delicious treat.
I am in a great mood this morning. I got me a pumpkin spice latte.
Oh, yes.
Get my mind going in the right direction.
Oh, God. And
there
Brooke,
we go.
Have you partaken so far?
I did.
I like it.
Yesterday, I know you don't like iced coffee, CD, but I like the iced coffee.
I don't like the concept.
Yeah.
It just throws me off. It feels like chocolate milk.
Well, with cold brew, it's just like it's so intense and it just gets you wired up. And then you add the pumpkin spice. Oh, man. Especially when it's like 100. I put it on Twitter X. Formerly known as Twitter.
Right.
I keep messing up
It'll
with
be
that.
Twitter
The
forever.
social media is formerly known as Twitter.
There
Can
we
call it
go.
that?
It's
It's like Prince.
It's going to be Heinzfield.
Yeah.
There you go.
I put that on
Still
social
Heinzfield.
media
Yeah.
last
Oh, it's
night.
not
And
sure.
and it was it got an interesting reaction because a bunch of people sent me the weather, and I'm like, no, I know it's 100 degrees,
At least
but it's
yours was
pumpkin
cold.
spice. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is hot. Gotta run for shade.
It's too hot. Oh, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
So we go with iced coffee or a little latte or something
Latte,
like that.
yeah.
There we go. We're good.
With oat milk. Yep.
Oh yes.
That regular milk is bad for me.
Here's what we got coming up on the wait, what milk is pepper?
Regular milk.
Okay, a little lactose intolerant here,
buddy.
huh? All right.
It'd be bad.
Is that an age thing? Because
think so.
I feel like as I've gotten older, I can't do well with regular milk either.
I
If we're just going to
just-
put it all out there.
I'm
I'm not going to throw the intolerant. I just can't stand it. I will not tolerate it. I couldn't tell you the last time I had a glass of milk. Now, chocolate milk, I'm cool. Regular milk, no.
It's all dairy for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what we got coming up on this Friday edition of the program. As always, Jay Delsing will join us at the bottom of the hour. We've got the Ascension Charity Classic coming up in just a couple of weeks now, and our friend Nick Ragone is going to join us here in studio, talk about the PGA Tour Championship as well, because there's a lot of action there. We'll have Devin Kerr. He is going to be the analyst for tomorrow's City game in Orlando against, is it Orlando FC or Orlando City?
I think they might have messed around and done FC. I gotta double check that one. That's a very good question. But and again, potentially the return of Santa.
Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Oh, man of
Back in the
glass
soccer
returns.
business.
Yeah, and then Cardinal broadcaster Chip Carey. Chip will join us from the city of brotherly love. He'll probably be going on his hot girl walk past the Liberty Bell this morning.
And Orlando City is a soccer club, not a football club.
SC,
I just
got
want
it.
to double
Okay.
check.
The Cardinals are in action tonight. They take on the Philadelphia Phillies, 6 o'clock on Bally. Miles Michaelis will pitch for the Redbirds, and he'll be opposed by Christopher, with no H, Sanchez. The Philadelphia Phillies are right now doing great. They're, in terms of the standings, they're leading the National League wild card race. After a bad start, they spent the first half of the season without Bryce Harper. They're 69-58 on the season. They have a 2.5 game lead in the wild card race. And guys, I really have a great deal of respect. You know, people talk about got to spend more money. Well, there's a lot of teams that spent more money. The Yankees are terrible this year. The Mets are terrible this year. The Padres are middling at best this year. Philadelphia not only spent money, this is how you want to spend money. You want to spend money smart. They went out and got Zach Wheeler. He's their second highest paid player. He is a stud in the rotation. Only 9-6 this year, but in 151 innings, he's taken the ball 25 times. has an earned run average of 3.7. And they built upon Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. Nola drafted and developed. And this year, they signed Taijuan Walker. And I think a lot of us said, oh, okay, Taijuan Walker, he's been around. You know, he's okay, a nice pickup. He's got a great name. Love the name Taijuan Walker. But we weren't thinking, okay, he is a stud. Well, Taijuan Walker is 13-5. He's given them 136 innings. He's taken the ball 25 times. Has a high earned run average of 4.02, which is not bad playing in that ballpark. So they effectively used money not only on Taijuan Walker in the starting rotation, but they also took a chance on Craig Kimbrell, who had struggled for a couple of years, gave him a deal to be their closer, and all Kimbrell has done is turn in a classic Kimbrell performance. 19 saves, earned run average 3.33. After losing Zach Eflin last year and not having a great closer situation, they have that this year. So I give Dave Dombrowski, who's one of my favorite general managers, a ton of credit for building this team. And what is Dave Dombrowski? He's old school. And this team is run in an old school manner, and it's not a surprise to me that they are where they are. And Brooke and Carey, I will not be surprised if Philadelphia winds up in the World Series for the second straight year.
Wow. That would be interesting because it seems like, once again, just like they did last year, they're getting hot at the right time. And with Bryce Harper, his return, that's really interesting. Maybe a little bit sooner, so hopefully everything with that will be okay. I know that they're primarily just using him as their DH, but it seems like they're getting hot at the right time again. And with Aaron Nola, I think his addition and Zach Wheeler, you keep talking about with all these teams that seems like they have that two-headed monster. Phillies is exactly what you saw last season with that when you saw the Cardinals face them. I'm like, wow, that is exactly what you need for your team to be successful. My question is, do you think that the Phillies will try to keep Aaron Nola?
I do. Yeah, that's just when you have an owner that says, we're going to go out and spend stupid money any year. And that's when they gave Harper the $330 million. But they're more than happy to go spend stupid money. And winning is quite a drug. So John Middleton, their owner, if they get back to the World Series again this year, whether they win it or not, I have to believe he'll say, okay, I want to take one more run with this group, and I would think Nola will be a part of it. The other thing they did, by the way, at the trade deadline, every good team should do this. They added a pitcher. They added Michael Lorenzen. He threw a no-hitter for him. And so they've got things going. Philadelphia is a really good team. A real Muto behind the plate is an all-star. He's terrific. They moved Bryson Stott to second base when they signed Trey Turner, signed him to stupid money. Alec Boehm is fine at third. He's terrific. Brandon Marsh is a nice center fielder, although not as good as the guy they traded for him, Mickey Moniak. And then they've got Nick Castellanos and the ubiquitous Kyle Schwarber. Every year, he just comes back and hits a bunch of home runs.
I feel like he's like 45. He's only 30. He feels like he's been around for a long time. The Phillies have done a great job. I mean, you lose Rhys Hopkins at the beginning of the year. You thought that was going to be a hit to them. Bryce Harper has the injury. You're like, oh, it's going to be really bad. No, we're just going to let Bryce Harper play first base, DH. We're going to let him do all of those things. And they haven't. They're starting to come back around. And as you said, they are a team, especially at the top of their rotation with those three pitchers, probably going to make a run. And they did it last year. They were down. They were stinking. They fired their manager. They had to start from scratch and clawed their way back and made it into the playoffs and made it to the World Series. So they have that knowledge that they're capable of doing it. See if they can do it again.
And Brooke, you hit the nail on the head. You start a playoff, doesn't matter who you have. If you're Atlanta and Max Fried is healthy and you got Strider and Fried at the top of your rotation, I still give Philadelphia with Wheeler and Nola a chance to beat them, especially because of that Philadelphia offense. So they can beat anybody, including the Braves. Meanwhile, the Anaheim, Los Angeles Angels of California.
That team.
Yeah. America, USA. For them. They've lost Shohei Ohtani as a pitcher for the year. He's going to have to undergo Tommy John surgery, but he was going to be the most exciting free agent in the history of baseball. Free agency started in 1976, and this was going to be the most fun free agency, better than Alex Rodriguez, better than Danny Jackson. It was going to be more fun. It was going to be more fun to watch the free agency of one Shohei Ohtani. It was going to be more exciting than watching the free agency of Wilson Contreras. It was going to be more fun than that.
I don't know if that was as fun. Nothing against Wilson. I think it was,
it was fun.
There was a lot that happened.
Excited. Everyone was so thrilled. It's amazing how the narrative can change in 6 months.
Yeah.
Everyone was so excited when Wilson signed that contract, when they knew he was going to be our new catcher. It didn't even take 6 months. It took about
30 days.
Maybe. Maybe 60. I don't know. It happened so fast where it flipped on Wilson, and it's not his fault.
Yeah, it's not his fault at all.
It's not. It's definitely not his fault. I do think that it was a little surprising. I think some people thought they would make some sort of addition pitching-wise during the free agency. So signing Wilson, Mozeliak made it very clear that they were going to be pursuing a catcher. You got your catcher, and then it felt like it was kind of a waiting, like, oh, okay, is this going to be it for the offseason for the Cardinals? Oh, and it is. And that's nothing on him what's happened this season. It's just interesting how it all played out, because now you're in this position where you know you can't have that repeat. You need to have some more pitching depth. But then you look at all these guys with Aaron Nola. Will he stay with the Phillies? Julio Urias, is he going to stay with the Dodgers? Most likely. Shohei Ohtani, that name's taken out, even though it would be nice if the Cardinals get him. I know he has a very high price, but he wouldn't be a part of that discussion. But even with Shohei out, that changes the discussions in free agency. So then you start to look at, well, what is exactly available that's going to fit the Cardinals' needs?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to find a number one. You're going to have to make a deal. Now, as far as Ohtani is concerned, how does this injury affect him in free agency? Jeff Passan of ESPN.
Ohtani's market is going to be a little bit better than people are thinking right now. So listen, I thought he was going to get 650, maybe more, if he was fully healthy. Now, he's not going to get that. I mean, we're talking a 9-figure loss. But is it going to dip below 500? People are telling me inside the industry, there are people who are telling me I'm crazy for thinking this. I'm sorry, I can't look at Shohei Ohtani, even with question marks about his pitching, is anything less than a $500 million asset.
9-figure loss, that would be
$100 million.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's
a lot of money.
I can stomach a couple of
times and it starts to add up.
I can stomach a lot of things. Tearing my elbow up and losing $100 million, I would be knocking over everything in the house with my good hand. Just
no doubt. Yeah, you don't tell anybody you're sore.
No.
It's unbelievable.
No.
So we'll keep an eye on Shohei. And by the way, there is the possibility that he may not undergo Tommy John. I think that would affect his market value as well. One other thing, the NFL has cut back to 3 preseason games for most teams. There's a 3-0 preseason team. Let's hear from their coach. That 3-0 preseason team, by the way, the only unbeaten team in their division now.
You can't get enough of these opportunities in stadium. You work your tail off to simulate it in a practice setting, but it is what it is. And so we'll comb through it like we always do in an effort to get better. And then we'll transition our attentions to the next component of this process, reducing our roster. And I don't really need validation. I just think it's difficult to box without sparring. And so, preseason is an opportunity for us to spar and sharpen our sword for the battle.
The Steelers hammered the Falcons last night, 24-0. How can you not love that guy?
I love
it's difficult to box without sparring. You got to get ready, man, for the fight.
Yeah.
He's telling you. Yeah, we know what it is. In Pittsburgh, man, you had to have a mindset that you were going to be more physical. The football aside, if you have a mindset that you are going to go into a game and punch people in the mouth for 4 quarters, you're probably going to come out as a victor. It's just going to happen that way.
Can't tell you how many times standing in the heat in Macomb, Illinois, and hearing Vermeil yell to his team, "You can't ease into a street fight, gentlemen. You can't ease into a street fight.
You'll get knocked out. You got to get right into it."
I love Tomlin. And by the way, Tomlin giving us it is what it is. And so...
So it's always, it is what it is.
So tomorrow night, Hazelwood Central opens up their season against Lutheran North over at Mobap.
Yes.
How much of what head coach Kerry Davis is, head coach, did you take from Coach T?
I've got a lot of sayings. Some things that he says. One saying that he has, in practice, he'd rather say "whoa" than "sick 'em," which is talking to your guys. I don't want to have guys that I got to tell them to go get after it. I need guys that I got to tell, whoa, slow down. So that's him. It's just the mindset of we don't care about all the excuses. get the damn job done. That's at the end of the day, get the job done.
That's a Tony Dungy. He's a Tony Dungy disciple, right?
It doesn't matter how you got it done. Do it the right way. Do it the way you're coached to do it. But at the end of the day, get the job done, and we'll all be better for it.
And did you and Anthony have a bet last night on that Falcons-Steelers preseason game?
We did not. We should have.
Yeah, 24-0.
Yeah.
Well, preseason's always tough, though.
You know.
The degenerates don't care. Brad Thompson will bet on the preseason game in a blink. Yeah, he'll know the line on every
preseason game. That is, I guess I'm not that bad.
Kenny Pickett, 404 for 86 yards. He was pretty good. Mitch Trubisky, what a depth chart they have at quarterback for the Steelers. Trubisky, 7 of 9 for 54. And then Mason Rudolph comes on. Mason Rudolph.
Just plugging away.
Yeah, he is. It's unbelievable. It's
holding on to that career. Outstanding job.
It's unbelievable.
I forgot he was still around until we mentioned it the other day.
He's still there. Yeah,
he's fighting.
We got that for him. How long? Let's see how long he's been around.
He's only been in the league 4 years.
Why does it feel so long?
I think because it was COVID. The year he got hit in the head with a helmet was the year before COVID.
Right.
2019.
He's played 17 games. Pretty amazing. So there you have it. We're off and running here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. You can watch us today, by the way, on the YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and type in 101 ESPN STL. You can watch us on the YouTube. Of course, you can always listen on the app if you don't have access to a radio or a device where you can watch us. So you can consume the opening drive anywhere you want. Coming up, we've got our Bird Watch here on 101 ESPN.
Down to the field to give you the latest on your St. Louis Cardinals. This is Bird Watch on the opening drive.
I got a Bird Watch for you guys, and it's not really a bird drop. Yeah, there you go. It's nice. But one of the things that has happened, it's kind of weird, the divergent paths the Phillies and Cardinals have taken since that playoff series, the best of 3 that the Phillies won last year in 2 games. Since then, Philadelphia has been able to maintain. They've suffered injuries. They've suffered setbacks. We mentioned the loss of Bryce Harper and Rhys Hoskins. Harper for the first half of the season. Yet here's Philadelphia, 5th in the league in runs per game. They're 4th in earned run average. They've built a bullpen. They still have Sir Anthony Dominguez, who was their closer last year, and they add Kimbrel to the mix. They've got a deep bullpen. They've got one of the deepest starting rotations in the National League with Wheeler, Nola, Walker, and now adding Michael Lorenz into that mix. Meanwhile, the Cardinals have fallen back. They're a different-looking team completely than the one Philadelphia saw in the playoffs last year. Cardinals are middle of the pack, 7th in the league in runs per game, 12th in ERA. And we're at a point now where I don't even look at the numbers for the Cardinals anymore. It doesn't matter. I mean, they've cashed in. Why shouldn't I? So I just look at how different these two teams are and how dramatic that Ryan Helsley finger injury changed the fortunes of these two teams.
Well, not just that, but there were so many other things that factored into it. You had the offense seemingly just cool off around that time, too.
Except for Juan Yepes.
Well, and Yepes, but Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, remember they came up big in those games. And then you also had, but Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, not being able to capitalize in those key moments towards the end there. And then you had Jose Quintana getting pulled early. I mean, there were so many different things that led to that. And
Bro,
on top of that, the Ryan
Helsley. What was your problem with Jose Quintana being pulled?
I don't know. Maybe because he's good.
I had a huge problem with it.
Why not?
What are we doing here?
I think that's exactly how everybody felt when they saw that moment, right?
Yes.
Is that what everybody felt when you saw that happening?
Well, I think you felt it after you saw what happened next.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the moment, you might have been, okay.
By the way, if you were indisposed at that time, maybe you were in a coma. It happens even now and then. Jose Quintana goes 5 1/3. He allows 2 hits, walked 1 and struck out 3. And he, by the way, had been great for the Cardinals since they got him from Pittsburgh. There was no reason to believe that Quintana was not going to pitch well for the Cardinals. In that time with the Cardinals, he had a 2.01 earned run average in a dozen starts. So there was no reason to believe that he wouldn't continue to pitch well, except for the spreadsheet telling me that I can't have a guy go a 3rd time through the lineup.
Oh, that pesky spreadsheet.
Well, sometimes you got to go with your gut, Randy.
I had a manager tell me one time recently. He said, well, our eyes were telling us that he was really slowing down. And I said, was it the velo? No. Was it the braking stuff? No. Well, what were you seeing? Blank stare.
Something.
It's always wonderful when you ask questions and they don't have answers.
Yeah.
It's just that gut instinct. Yeah. Well, guys, my bird watch is going to be Thomas Saggese. Last night, another great performance for him. Yeah, let's clap. Let's clap for Thomas Saggese. He's with Springfield right now, by the way. 2 for 4 night for him with a home run and 3 RBIs. Now, it's really interesting because the numbers, I'm going to tell you guys, if you look overall at his minor league season right now, he's done fantastic, or he's been fantastic.
How about that?
Oh, how about that? Bookbinder, thank you. But specifically, since he's come over the Cardinals, in 21 games with Springfield, Saggese, by the way, he's ranked 9th among Cardinals prospects on Major League Baseball Pipeline, is batting .354 with an OPS over 1,000, has hit his 7th home run. That was last night, mind you, with the Springfield Cardinals. And he has 16 RBIs. And he also had that amazing game that we talked about on August 19th, where he hit for the cycle, collected 4 RBIs. Guys, I just think it's really interesting to see because Springfield is unlikely to reach the playoffs if anybody cares about that. I wonder if you move him up to AAA soon. I think the sooner the better because why not, right? Maybe this weekend? I don't know because Thomas Saggese is doing all the right things.
Can I go back? He hit for the cycle?
How about that?
Oh, yes. We heard that call. That's where that call comes from, by the way, if you're unfamiliar with that.
How about that?
How about that?
But does he also, I'm going to pose this question to you guys, does it make you feel maybe a little bit better because you have all that depth with that middle infield mix right now, that competition going on with the guys who are here? Knowing that Thomas Saggese is another player that's possibly on the way, does it make you feel a little bit more comfortable with moving on from a Nolan Gorman, Brendan Donovan, Tommy Edman, or somebody like that.
I would feel more comfortable if Tommy Edman was playing second base every day.
I would too.
But I'd be more comfortable with. I just because he's won a Gold Glove there. I don't know. I think that's kind of important.
But to answer the question, should he be moved up to Memphis? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. He's reached the point now with the performance of the last couple of weeks since he really got to Springfield. What can he show you at AA that he hasn't already shown you?
I have no idea. And just go ahead and bring him up. Maybe they're just waiting till the end of Springfield's season because he's been on the move. But as I mentioned, in those 21 games with Springfield, if you look at his overall stats, he's doing so well. But just specifically the way that he's been able to continue to do that in his move since the trade deadline, I just think that says a lot. Why not just give him the chance to move up to AAA? Sooner the better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
How many games do they have left? Memphis or Springfield? Both.
Springfield?
Yeah.
Memphis plays, I think everybody plays through the end of September now.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
then he's got time.
Yeah, so they can do it.
What month are we in? Oh, it's about to be September.
This is August. Yeah, your season starts tomorrow.
Listen, when we get to, I don't know dates or days. I just know who we play. Play in 2 days, play in 5 days, so we play tomorrow. Okay. Yep. All right. You looking it up? You find it? Nope.
Oh, the schedule? Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay.
Sorry, it's
And I think
taking
the other thing-
a minute, CD.
So it's fine. So my bird watching, I will repeat this at some point, probably at the end of the season. But I got my eyes solely on, I got one eye on John Mozeliak and the other eye on Bill DeWitt. I'm looking at those two in particular. I want to see what they decide to do in this offseason, how they decide to spend money, where they decide to spend money, how they allocate funds. I'm thinking about this pitcher situation, and we always are. You just never know. You just saw with Shohei Ohtani going down with the Tommy John. Steven Strasburg just retired yesterday. He was, in his career, he's been one of the top pitchers. Great pitcher, but always often injured. I remember a few years back where they shut him down with still time left in the season. They had a chance to make the playoffs or make a playoff run, and they shut him down. You never know with pitching. You just never know. You don't know if it's going to be a shoulder, if it's going to be an elbow. There is no rhyme or reason for if or when a guy is going to get hurt, but that cannot deter you from making the decision to go get one of those guys, because if they are healthy, it changes the landscape of everything you do going forward. If they get hurt, which maybe they will, maybe you'll have your center fielder turn his ankle in the batter's box. Who the heck knows? Nobody knows if anyone is going to get injured, but you cannot let that deter you from going to get one of those guys this offseason. Via free agency or via trade, it has to happen for the Cardinals, and I am looking at John Mozeliak, Bill DeWitt to make sure that is done.
I do think a lot of teams, Cardinals aren't unique here, they look at past experiences with free agents and get scared, and they go into the process with fear. I think this is one situation where the Cardinals need to just avoid fear and jump in with both feet, because right now, this year was the time, and next year is the time. You aren't going to have Arenado and Goldie for much longer, right? And Wilson Contreras, he's in his 30s, so whether he's catching or DHing, he's not going to be great for you for very long. And you need to take advantage of the Hall of Fame quality talent that you have on this team.
Well, and also the young athletes, the importance, and CD, you know this, for them to be around a winning culture. That's going to be very important for them to understand that and understand taking that from the leaders, seeing how the leaders handle the situation, getting deeper into October. I think that's very important for those younger players to pick up, too, just so that they can continue that tradition whenever you have Nolan Arenado leaving and Paul Goldschmidt.
That's one of the main things that was one of the main reasons why I wanted Jordan Walker here sooner, because him and Mason Wynn, because you need to be able to learn from guys that have done it for a career and have had great success in their career. Gold Gloves, MVP candidates. Those guys know exactly what it takes to be great baseball players. Now, you couple that with guys that know how to win championships or have won championships, you got a baseball team. But until they all are working cohesively together, we're going to see, and that's everyone included, front office all the way down. Everyone has to be on the same page and thinking the same thing about how they're going to go about the game.
That's your Bird Watch here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, the PGA Tour Championship is underway at East Lake in Atlanta. Who's going to win? Jay Delsing is going to tell us next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals back in action after an off day in Philadelphia. They first pitch 6:05. It'll be Miles Michaelis on the mound for the Cardinals, 6-9 on the season with a 4.55 ERA. He faces off against Christopher Sanchez, the lefty for the Phillies. That's Christopher without an H. Randy would want me to say that. Chris Sanchez on the season, 1-3 with a 3.36 ERA. Also coming up this weekend, St. Louis City back in action. They travel down to Orlando to face off against Orlando City SC tomorrow with a 6:30 kickoff. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Okay, here's my reasoning. Back in 1987, the St. Louis Cardinals drafted a pitcher from Georgia, who also, by the way, was the punter for the Georgia Bulldogs football team. That pitcher's name that the Cardinals drafted in 1987 was Chris Carpenter, C-R-I-S, Chris Carpenter. He wound up pitching 5 years for the Cardinals. He went 21-15 with a 3.66. Not to be confused with Chris, C-H-R-I-S, Carpenter.
Get you a fall guy.
Yeah, Chris, C-H-R-I-S, was just a tough, rugged, lovable, big old bear of a guy who wound up in the postseason for your St. Louis Cardinals being pretty good. And he was not ever to be confused with the other Chris Carpenter. Our Chris Carpenter, the CH, 10-4 with a 3.00 earned run average in postseason action for the Cardinals. So always go with the Chris with the CH. Sorry about that. Chris is without an H. We go to the celebrity line, and our friend Jay Delsing joins us now on 101 ESPN. Good morning, Jay. What'd you think of that little history lesson?
I'm glad there's not a lot of Delsings around. I don't know how you would have explained where my name came from. That's perfect.
All right, Tour Championship is underway. I really enjoy it. We really haven't talked about this during the course of the season, but on the PGA Tour page, when you go to the stats and the scores for a particular day, they've got the odds to win right there on the page. And right now, Colin Morikawa is at plus 550, but Hovland is at plus 350 and Scheffler at plus 300. So those are the three favorites. Who do you think is going to win this thing?
Boy, I tell you, the way Victor Hovland closed last at Olympia Fields was incredible. I really haven't seen him. Now, he's won 5 tournaments on the PGA Tour, but I've never seen him really go on a run like that before, and it was impressive. I'm going to say that I want Colin to win because I'm a little pro red, white, and blue, and we're getting to that part in time of the year when the Ryder Cup is going to be out. Scotty Scheffler, makes a triple bogey yesterday. This guy has been playing such good golf but just cannot quite get across the finish line. So even though he started at 10 under par, which is a whole, I'd love to get your guys' opinion on that. I just can't get my hands around that system, that weighted system, and I totally understand why they're doing it. But to have somebody start, so far ahead of the pack seems kind of crazy.
I love the out-of-the-box thinking and rewarding the people that were successful all season long.
And that's what they're trying to do, and I totally get that. I mean, Scotty Scheffler look at how huge his point lead was up until the last event, and the points are quadrupled for that last event. So, I mean, he has played the most consistent golf of anybody all year long. So I don't have any problem with him having that big a lead, but there's got to be some other way to do it. I'm just not smart enough to try to figure out what that is.
I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. Whatever his home course is, make it just like any other playoff. Give the guy that's best during the season home course advantage.
Wow. I don't know if Coca-Cola would like. Where the hell, Scotty? He's from Dallas. That's I don't know if they'd like to move everything over there. We follow the money on the PGA Tour because we're going to be probably playing in this thing in Saudi Arabia in a couple of years.
There you go. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Jay, you talked about Scotty Scheffler going triple bogey on a par 3. For me, I mean, that's a good day at the office. For you, though, or someone like him, what's the worst you've ever shot on a hole? And how, when you get to that point, how frustrating is it, and what are you saying to yourself?
Okay, so my rookie year on tour, my friend Steve Payton and I went to college together at UCLA, and he wound up finishing dead last in a tournament on the PGA Tour, and we have a title for that cup.
Okay.
We had a title for that cup, and I was giving him. I was all over him about that. So we fast forward about a month later, and we're playing down at the Honda down in Fort Lauderdale, and there was a guy on tour. The guy could barely see. His name was Jim Simons. If you look him up, he wore Coke bottle sort of glasses, but was a damn good player. He won 3 or 4 times on the PGA Tour, but I'm battling for this cup because I made the cut, but I'm off the back 9 on Sunday and, first. And so the whole tournament's happening on the front, and you're playing on the whole tournament is happening and concluding on the back 9, and you're wrapping up your round on the front 9. There's nobody watching you. It's a bad feeling. And I've got about a 3-stroke lead over Jim, and we're coming down to the 8th hole. It's about a 210-yard par 3 with water everywhere. And all I can think of is I'm not losing this thing, and I'm not going to. So I take extra club, and my ball flies and buries in the back sand trap. Now, there's water in the front edge of the green. So I go from in the sand trap into the front water, go back to the tee. Anyway, I made double digits. I made like a 10. Oh, yeah. Almost ran out of balls, yeah. And I got the cup. And guess who was waiting for me at my locker room when I got in?
Your teammate.
Oh, yeah. I deserved it. I rode him hard, and he's like, how's it feel? I'm like, yeah, I should have been a little nicer to you.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Well, Jay, I know that we talked about last week about Zach Johnson and the decisions he's going to have to make. What are your thoughts on Brooks Koepka possibly being a part of the Ryder Cup team?
I think he's going to get it. I really do. I think it made for such interesting conversation for him to just get nudged out. He winds up finishing just out of the automatic qualifying berths. But I mean, the guy, he's really the only live player that I think will be on the team. I really think at the end of the day, these guys will put the red, white, and blue first and put the best team out there. And I really think Brooks is going to have to be on there. And Brooks is a strange guy, but I think he's I really think Zach's going to pick him. Now, what's interesting, guys, is that for the European side, Sergio Garcia, Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, Paul Casey, 4 pretty big names. Those guys have withdrawn their membership from the DP World Tour, so they are ineligible. So they can't be put on the team if they wanted to. And there's a quirky loophole in with the PGA of America that owns the Ryder Cup franchise. And our players are allowed to play because they did not forego their PGA of America membership. So I think the only other one I would probably consider would be Bryson DeChambeau, and I just think he's too volatile. The way he plays is too volatile. He plays a golf ball, you guys, that doesn't spin very much, and there's only 3 other guys on the PGA Tour that play that ball. So bringing Bryson in, regardless of the talent, I think it's just going to be too much. So I really think Brooks is going to make it, and we're going to have a hell of a match here in Italy. And guys, one of the things that's cool about golf, if you remember when the Dream Team went to Europe, to the Olympics for the very first time, it was Bird, it was Jordan, it was Magic, it was all of the studs of the NBA. They sowed seeds for the game of basketball in Europe that we're seeing, 35, 40 years later now. I think, Kerry, you're more in the baskets than I am, but I think about 30% of the league comes from Europe now. And what those guys from Europe seem to do well is exactly what Bird and Magic, they pass the ball well. They're really strong fundamentally, where we're kind of more dunkers and like to shoot 3-pointers. So this is the fact that we're playing this in Italy, you guys, would have never happened. It took this much time to get, Italy in this rotation. And I'm sorry for the long answer, but I think it's kind of exciting for a golf geek like me to get to grow the game like that.
No, it is. It's very interesting. I just wanted to ask you one more thing. So Tiger Woods, as we know, hasn't been on the golf course since the 2023 Masters, but Rory McIlroy talked about the other day about his presence and how he's been a part of the PGA Tour policy board. What is it like having Tiger Woods, you think, being a part of that and be a voice and advocate for the PGA Tour players?
Well, Brooke, I think it's Jay Monahan trying to save his job. I think he needed a massive head on the mantle, and you couldn't get bigger and more influential than Tiger. I just don't know. I mean, those, here's why Tiger's interested. Because you're going to start disrespecting and making the things that he holds dearest to him, irrelevant. And I mean his legacy, his 82 wins, his 15 major championships, and everything. If you start letting the live golf get too crazy, and I think you're going to get him really interested. You're going to try to offer him money, and he won't even respond. I mean, it's amazing how quiet Tiger has been through all of this stuff. And he's watching it. And so he's extremely disciplined, and he's really, really focused. And he's really, really focused on that sort of stuff. So I think it's a big deal. Anything Tiger does for us, Brooke, is a big deal because what did Roger Maltby say? He doesn't move the needle. He is the needle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The guy pokes his head out the window, and he winds up winning that stupid player fund that they have on social media, because he's got so many followers and is so influential.
Jay, we forgive you if 2 weeks from today you don't join us, because that will be the opening day of the Ascension Charity Classic, and you and Nick Ragone are both going to be on the 101 on Sports on Fox 2 with me on Sunday night. But I want you to tell people, I asked you, who's the guy to beat? If you're in the hunt on Sunday, who do you think you're going to be chasing or holding off?
Oh man, I'd love to say me, but I wouldn't.
You're going to. I've already got you in the hunt. So who are you trying to beat, or who are you trying to fend off?
I'm going to say it's probably going to be Ernie Els or Bernhard Langer. I think we've got a problem with this Ryder Cup, and I think Steve Stricker's not going to be able to come now because of some trip to Italy that they're making, and so Davis Love's not going to be able to come as well. So that kind of sucks. And Padraig Harrington is playing in the Irish Open. So I'm going to say it's going to be Ernie or Bernhard Langer.
All right, sounds good. And who do you have on the show on Sunday? For those that aren't aware, it's 8 to 10 now on Sunday mornings. Golf with Jay Delsing. Who do you got?
We tell everybody, if the preacher's sermon doesn't put you down, come to Golf with Jay Delsing, where 2 hours will knock you right out. It'll put you right to sleep. We've got Bob Herrig, who's a longtime writer for SI Sports and a really good guy, and then Luke Donald, who is the captain of the European side, and really, really interesting, nice guy. English, so it's a little bit different, but he didn't want to take any questions involving Liv, which I only had 8 or 10 that I wanted to ask.
All right. We'll be tuned in. We always love having you on the show. Thank you, Jay, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a great weekend, guys. Thank you.
That's our buddy Jay Delsing on 101 ESPN. Golf with Jay Delsing, 8 to 10 on Sunday morning, and Jay will be in the field 2 weeks from today at the Ascension Charity Classic. Tickets available at ascensioncharityclassic.com. Coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Tioli, take it or leave it next.
Take it or leave it.
Want to say something? Want to put it out there? If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Time for Tioli on 101 ESPN. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Okay, kids, how about this? Netflix outbid Amazon and ESPN for the rights to a 10-part Jerry Jones docuseries. Take it or leave it. If it doesn't include Jones screwing over St. Louis, it'll be the worst sports documentary ever.
Oh, I'm going to take it.
Or even if it does.
It
might even be longer than his Hall of Fame acceptance speech.
What I need to see is they have to have the White House on there, right?
Yes, they do.
You got the White House on there. Then
he purchased the White House. Yeah,
did he?
Yeah,
No
he was behind that. Yeah,
No way. I need to know. I need to know the inner workings. Maybe not. You know what? I'll take that back. There's no such thing as the White House. Didn't happen.
It happened.
I think the thing that just throws me off sometimes, and I get it, with documentaries, it's going to be in the way of where you're telling somebody's story, so it's going to be a little biased. Mm-hmm. But after watching that Johnny Manziel documentary on Netflix, and there's a couple of others as well, I know that the Florida Gators one just came out. I can't remember what it is.
See, that was swamp.
I've heard that it's not what you expect it to be in a lot of ways. My whole thing is, it feels a little just one-sided where you're maybe not telling the full story of things. Because after I watched the Johnny Manziel documentary, my whole thing was like, well, that's it? So what is he doing now? Like, what did he learn anything from this? Like, what is the final result? Oh, he just lives in a house in Arizona and still parties. Oh, okay. That's I don't know.
Sometimes that's it.
Yeah,
sometimes there is
that's the rest of the story
to be told. So that's it.
Before the Rams left, there was a dog and pony show over at the Stiefel Theater, and they held a quote-unquote town hall meeting. And I had the great good fortune to speak, and I had printed out photos of all the other owners, you couldn't find one of Stan Kroenke, doing great philanthropic things in their communities, either receiving awards or giving things to people, underprivileged people. And so I hold up these printed sheets, and Eric Grubman from the NFL came up and, for whatever reason, brought me up on stage after this dog and pony show was over, and I tried to hand him the pictures, and he wouldn't take them. But the picture that I had of Jerry Jones was him with a couple of hookers.
I was gonna say, Randy, you brought up, Jerry Jones,
philanthropic. Yeah,
you brought up Jerry Jones. You got Jerry Jones screwing over certain people. I just thought it was going to be a different group that the documentary would focus on.
That's so crafty of you to do that, though.
He was putting people through school.
There you go.
You know?
Yep.
It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you do it, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
So, but the NFL unfortunately wouldn't take
They didn't like that.
John Kioski paid for it. He knows now.
That's amazing.
He paid for those full color photos.
That's hilarious.
That's incredible.
So, we're looking at SportsCenter right now, or not ESPN, SportsCenter, whatever. Will Sean Payton bench Russell Wilson if he struggles earlier? I'm going to take it a step further. We'll take it or leave it. If Russell Wilson struggles this year, this will be his last year as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Ooh, I like this, and I'm going to take that.
I'm going to take it, too. I feel like Sean Payton was kind of like the last Hail Mary in a lot of ways with this whole Russell Wilson situation, because he's supposed to be the quarterback guru.
If it's not good this year, he's on his second year of a 5-year, $242 million contract. If it's not good this year, they're going to cut bait and cut ties and just say.
He turns 35 in November.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is one reason why Sean Payton, the Broncos, should go after Trey Lance.
No.
Yeah.
If I'm Sean Payton, if Russell Wilson's struggling, I let him struggle, because there's a man in USC, Caleb Williams, that you want to draft if you have the first overall pick.
Yeah, but you have to be worse than the Arizona Cardinals this year.
They're not going for a quarterback.
Yes, they are.
No.
They
paid Kyler Murray.
The Broncos paid Russell Wilson.
Yeah, but Kyler is younger. He's got a little bit more new coach.
Yeah, that new coach doesn't want. Nobody there wants anything to do with Kyler Murray. Nobody. They think that Kyler Murray is immature. They don't think he's that good, and they think he's too little.
Well, they paid him.
Well, the money, the contracts that Wilson and Murray signed were the exact same time and the exact same deal. Yeah.
But Murray is a lot younger.
Here's the other,
and he's going to miss most of the year this year. So you wouldn't be able to make that decision based off of 6 games and decide we're going to go in a different direction.
If you're the Arizona Cardinals and you have the first pick in the draft, how do you not take Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I doubt that they do. They would probably trade it away to the Broncos for a haul. But they wouldn't. I don't think that they would go get a quarterback in this situation. Not the Cardinals, but the Broncos.
Broncos, yeah.
If he struggles, yes.
Take it or leave it, guys. This is more of a fantasy one that I thought about the other day because I highly doubt that this happened.
Were you just driving around thinking this
about
fantasy thing?
Yeah, this fantasy thing.
Okay.
Take it or leave it, maybe. Yadier Molina will be hired by the Cardinals organization first rather than Joe Madden.
Ooh, okay. I will take that. Yes. I will.
Yeah,
because
Randy always likes to bring up Joe Madden as a possibility for the Cardinals organization.
Joe Madden never gets hired by the Cardinals.
Well, also Yachty could be hired as something other than the manager, right?
If you're willing to pay him multi-million dollars.
Yeah, but Joe Madden wouldn't.
No.
Be a third base coach.
No, he would not. Well, no, I think Yachty wants to be the manager.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But if he were to be hired, if he were to be hired in another position and paid well, see that before I can see Joe Madden.
Here's the thing, though. Can you, presuming Ali Marmol is your manager, can you pay Yadier Molina $5 or $6 million to be a coach and your manager $1.5 million?
No. It would look weird.
Great. No.
That won't fly.
And if you're Yachty, why would you bother unless you're getting some serious cheddar out of it?
Yeah.
No. I think it's interesting. I think it's going to take, maybe he's enjoying retirement, but it'll take him a while to get away from Puerto Rico. He has his basketball team that he has down there.
Could you imagine him being the manager and having to go watch his basketball team in the finals?
I gotta go. Be back.
Oh, no.
I have a coaching staff.
You guys just take it over for a little bit. I got a basketball team to take care of.
You see Yachty just take a bat to a water cooler in the middle of the game. It's like the Cardinals are up 8-0. What happened? We got a phone call that his basketball team lost.
Yeah, he's not missing
Gotcha.
All right, what text do we have, Matthew?
I just have to read this one. Take it or leave it. You guys will never talk about Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Take it.
This is from somebody who's texted in about Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
We just did it.
We're talking about him now.
Single.
There you go.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I refuse. I haven't seen him pitch. I know that he is not going to be a number one for the Cardinals at the beginning of next year, or
Randy,
whomever he signs with.
This texter said that he should be a stud, and probably cheaper than the other guys.
Okay,
thank you.
No, well, the luxury tax, right?
Yeah, well, that's part of it.
Yeah,
but Yu Darvish has been great. Okay, Hideki Irabu was not. Hideki Irabu was supposed to be the Japanese Roger Clemens. Didn't wind up being that way. Daisuke had one decent year when he came over here. Hideo Nomo was all right. He's okay. But it's just such a different element when you leave Japan, where you pitched with 6-man rotations and come here and pitch in a 5-man rotation. It's very difficult for a guy like Yamamoto to be what he is. And the unicorn, obviously, is Shohei Ohtani. He's completely different than anybody we've ever seen. But no, there are not Shohei Ohtanis just floating around starting rotations in Japan right now.
Why not use a 6-man rotation? Then you can maybe use pitchers for more than 6 innings.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I think it'd be intriguing. I think it'd be expensive because starting pitchers make a lot of money. And if you have a really good one, he wants to pitch every 5th day, and you want him to pitch every 5th day.
Okay.
This one's mean, but I'm going to read it anyway.
Okay.
Take it or leave it. There's nothing more that I want to learn about Jerry Jones until I read his obituary.
I'll take that. Yep.
I'll take it. Also, take it or leave it. You guys missed my crafty joke earlier when I said crafty. Robert Kraft.
I
was waiting for it to hit.
I did miss it.
Dang, I did miss that.
That went over my head. Apologies.
Yeah. It's okay.
Sorry.
I just have to.
You can't always have happy endings.
I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make an edit.
All right, we got that one.
I'm gonna edit this one on the fly and then tell you why it's funny. Take it or leave it. A non-SEC school wins the college football national championship.
Leave that. Come on.
Non-SEC school. So we're talking. Well,
I don't know what conference Carey might go with.
Ohio State, Michigan.
Oh, shocker!
Yeah. But I'm thinking, honestly, Texas was playing really well versus Bama last year until their quarterback got hurt. Yep. That was a game, and Texas and Bama barely got out of there with a win there. They play early to start the season, maybe first or second game of the year.
Yeah, Marcel Darius hit Colt.
That's going to, no, that's not.
Different game?
Yeah, different game. But they are going to be, I think Texas might be a team to look out for if they get past Bama to start that season off.
You know, last year, the SEC got a run for its money in the championship game. It was only 65-7 against TCU. The year before that, 2 SEC teams played in the Final Four, and it was. I know it was rugged for the SEC that year. It was really tough, but you know. They had to deal with it, and fortunately for the SEC, they were able to come through in those 2 games with Georgia beating Michigan 34-11 and Alabama beating Cincinnati 27-6. The SEC. I mean, they've got difficulty.
Anything's possible.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, it's really hard for the SEC to win these things.
Also, this text is great because apparently we got it sent from 2013 because this person, the actual text read, take it or leave it, a non-SEC school wins the BCS championship.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Texas lost to Bama last year 20-19, and their quarterback got hurt. So,
yeah.
I think.
And Bama they had a down year.
Yeah.
By Bama standards.
I think that Texas, if they play well, they could have a chance there.
Yeah, well, they better change things up a little bit. Yeah, what's wrong? We got one more. We got an oh-no. I like oh-nos.
It's not take it or leave it. Somebody just texted, and I want to fight Randy, and I don't even need the options. And I was like, you really want to do that,
on
fella?
A Friday?
You really want to do that, fella?
It's going to be bad. It's going to be one of those guys or gals that just answers whatever.
Why would you not want the options? Why would you subject yourself to that?
I don't know. This guy made
options today?
This guy made a joke yesterday about me making my bed, so I'm thinking I might take him up on this offer.
Take him up. That's fine. What's his name?
Go.
I don't have it yet. Okay. Kyle, apparently, if the previous tweets are accurate.
Looking forward to that. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
Coming up next on 101 ESPN, we are going to get to your fresh take. The Cardinals are, they're not doing very well, but some of the guys that they had are. That's next on 101 ESPN.
Opening Drive on 101. A fresh perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Brought to you by Schnucks Rewards. Reward yourself. Earn 2% back on every purchase with the Schnucks Rewards app.
In St. Louis, your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Genesis Cabrera just keeps rolling for the Toronto Blue Jays. He has not allowed an earned run in his 15 games. In 14 innings of work, he has struck out a dozen. He's been spectacular. Jordan Hicks had a hiccup.
Oh, see what you did there.
Thank you. He's 1-2 with a 4.00, 9 strikeouts in 9 innings for the Jays. But man, you look at the guys that went to Texas. Jordan Montgomery, 2-1 with a 1.73. He struck out 26 in 26 innings for the Rangers. Chris Stratton has a 1.72 earned run average. He struck out 10 in 15 and 2/3. Jack Flaherty, guys, he has had to cost himself a ton of money here down the stretch. He's 1-2 with the Orioles with a 7.07 earned run average. He has struck out 19 in 14 innings, but is not the Jack Flaherty that we knew in 2019 and 2020 and 2021 before he got hurt.
No, and it's very intriguing how he kind of answered some questions the other day. We actually have a clip because he was supposed to pitch, and then he says that it kind of seems like it's more of just a mindset thing with his injuries.
Sometimes you don't bounce back the way you want to, and you just try to make the right decision of making sure that you feel right. And sometimes there's starts you just don't bounce back the way you want to. Throwing yesterday, just you didn't quite feel like you bounce back, and sometimes those are the hard decisions to make, especially you want to take the ball every time out, and just one of those things. It's not concerning. I think guys you push things around all the time depending on the way it works out. Sometimes you just don't hear about it, but when it comes up right before a start, then you're gonna hear about it.
I don't know what to make of that exactly.
He was scratched with general soreness.
And you heard the explanation, or I guess kind of explanation from him there. It seems like it's more of like a phantom issue of just that he needs to be in that mindset. I know that CD, you talked about yesterday when we were discussing Ryan Helsley and some of the issues that he's having where the MRI came back clean. And this sounds more of just kind of a mindset thing of where you've had an injury and you're just maybe worried about re-aggravating it. But with what's going on with Flaherty, I mean, he still has to hit the free agency market. With him, I would assume I would want to be getting out there as much as possible.
Yeah, you want to get out there if you feel comfortable and you feel healthy, both physically and mentally. That didn't sound like a physical issue. It sounds more like a mental thing where he's struggling to find, the mechanics, or struggling to find the angles that he's accustomed to, and he's not hitting it, and it can become frustrating. The thing that frustrates me, though, is as a teammate, bro, nobody cares about what you're dealing with. We need you to perform. You got to go out there and do your job because we're all counting on you. And so if you're not able to, because maybe something is tweaked. Now, if it's a physical limitation, something is sore, something is hurt, you don't want to tear something, you feel like you may hurt yourself more, I 100%, I'm on your side. But if it's just you're not feeling your best, nobody ever feels that once you become a collegiate athlete, or if you're in the minor leagues, you never feel your best. That from that point on, you are never starting from 100%. Each year, the percentage is knocked down 1% or 2%. And so the fact that you can't give me what I need that as a teammate is what lights me up.
This is a guy. And I think everybody who listens to me and has listened for a long time, I'm a Jack Flaherty fan. I want him to do well.
Yeah.
But he wears a jersey and puts a picture of himself wearing a jersey of a guy who pitched with a broken leg, who had a one-hopper back to the mound and literally pitched with a broken leg. I'm talking about Bob Gibson in 1967. Maybe he misses Bob Gibson a lot more than we thought. Because I'll tell you what, Chris Carpenter came back, another of his mentors here, came back and pitched. You think Chris Carpenter ever felt great after his shoulder was injured in Toronto and he pitched for the Cardinals?
No one ever
does. No.
And we talked about it. We liked the beginning of the season where he had the Joker video, just saying this is who you're going to be. Bro, you got to play. You have to play through pain. You have to play through, fatigue and soreness. And because you're tired both mentally and physically, nobody cares. And I mean that respectfully. Like, you care.
You got to be tough.
But you have to be mentally and physically tough. And if you're unable to do that, then those are the people that are unable to get those huge contracts.
Yeah. And I wonder, too, because we've talked about Jack Flaherty, the injuries. This season, this is when he's been his most healthy, I guess you would say, going into a season. I wonder if that's factored into it, that it's been a while since he's been able to go through an entire full season, because he was typically injured going into the season.
I don't know if he is. I think he's trying to thread the needle here in free agency of not being healthy, because he admitted that he's dealt with this labrum tear for his entire career.
Yeah.
You don't pitch with labrum tears. And so I think he's trying to get as much out of his body as he can before he hits free agency, and think that teams aren't going to realize it. Well, got a 7.07 ERA with the Orioles. We all know. And if he does wind up with some team, it's not going to be on a long-term contract. He's going to get a one-year deal, and hopefully he'll be able to get healthy, like Michael Wacha has become healthy and become a serviceable pitcher. But I would predict that the future for Jack Flaherty is going to be that he's going to bounce around Major League Baseball.
You will never be able to back your way into a huge contract. You got to go forward. You got to go through. You're not going to slide in and nobody's going to, hey, here's $25 million a year. We know you're not. No, that's not. You got to show it. And if you can't show it, no one's going to pay you. It doesn't matter how you feel like you're going to get it. It's only one way. It's going forward. It's going through, not bagging your way into it.
And it's a shame, by the way. Talented guy. I mean, he had an 0.91 earned run average for the second half of the 2019 season. Struck out 124 in 99 innings. Just an absolute stud. So this is sad.
It is. And when you talk about the teammate aspect, teams are going to look at that, right? About how well that you do work with others. And of course, we don't know the full scope of the Wilson Contreras situation, but what we do know is that Jack Flaherty was one of the pitchers that was a part of that discussion when they were trying to mend that bridge between Wilson Contreras and the pitchers. And then you have this situation. You talk about just going out there for your teammates. That puts everybody in a bind in that situation when you're scratched that quickly or that's close to a game.
That's today's Fresh Take on 101 ESPN. Coming up, Brooke, Carey, Randy. We're going to talk to our buddy Nick Ragone from the Ascension Charity Classic. It starts 2 weeks from today over at Norwood Hills. And Nick will join us here in the studio next on 101 ESPN. Grimsley and Kerry Davis. I'm Randy Karraker, and 2 weeks from today, the Ascension Charity Classic will be underway over at Norwood Hills Country Club, and you can still get tickets at ascensioncharityclassic.com. Nick Rigone from the tournament joins us. Always good to have Nick in to talk some golf here on 101 ESPN. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
It's great to see everybody. 2 weeks out, getting ready.
Is the hay in the barn? Is there anything left to do besides sell a few more tickets?
Always sell a few more tickets, but honestly, my work is 50 weeks a year where I talk about the event, and then the last 2 weeks, the team actually runs it. So if you drive out past Norwood today, you'll see the build-out happening. We've sold everything there is to sell. Now I start looking at my weather charts and praying, and so far, knock on wood, it looks good.
Good.
What's worse, this heat or obviously if it were to rain?
The rain is worse, and I'll tell you why. Because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have 3 days of Pro-Am. So unlike most events, we have 3 days. And if you get rained out, you get rained out, right? There's really nothing you could do about it. It's not like a baseball game where you get a ticket for another game. And so the most important 3 days of the week are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, even more so than Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We want to make sure that our Pro-Ams, our sponsors have a great time. And so that's what I really, really look at. And I can control a lot, the field, the tournament, the course, the players, the media. The one thing I can't is the weather. And it drives me nuts.
I know. You can only do so much. And I know how much work that you put in. I always enjoy it. I know this is the third annual Ascension Charity Classic. I enjoy going every single year to see how things are continuing to upgrade the fan experience. What is one of your favorite stories that you've heard from a fan about a fan-player interaction that they've had during the Ascension Charity Classic?
That's a great question. The first year, I was off the 18th green, and there was probably a 10-year-old kid was giddy. I mean, just excited, boy. And I said, what's going on? He goes, I just spent 5 minutes with VJ Singh, and he signed a glove for me. Now, VJ is a great guy and a great golfer, not known as the most fan-friendly guy, but they turn 50 and they get that. Mm-hmm. That's part of the gig, is it's the great mulligan in life, and to interact with the fans. And to have somebody say, like, VJ spent all that time and he was chatting with the guy, and I heard that over and over. Bernard Longer spent time with me and he signed stuff. And these guys just make themselves available because they know they're not grinding for a check. There's no cut. You're guaranteed a payday, and they get that it's a real privilege to be able to play after 50 and compete at the highest level, and so they really go out of their way to interact with the fans.
Nick, I was thinking about this, and I wanted to know, what is the greatest round of golf or the greatest performance that you've ever witnessed in person?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I would say with Ozzy, but it'll inflate his ego. Every time I play with Ozzy, he seems to be in the 60s somewhere. That's a really, really good question. I played with Pat Britt, who's like the 8-time club champion at Norwood and one of the great players. And it seems like whenever I play with him, your game gets better by osmosis, because when you play with somebody really good, you just pick up on their habits. And so I try to make a habit of playing with better people than me, which is not that hard since most people are better than me.
John Daly will be in town, and he's a St. Louis fan, a Cardinal fan. He has endeared himself to our town. The year after he won his first PGA in Indy was here at the PGA at Belle Reve. He's a guy that just kind of is tied to St. Louis, isn't he?
He is. He's a Missouri guy. I forgot. He won at Crooked Stick in 91, so he played at Belle Reve in 92.
Yeah.
He loves it here. I mean, he said this publicly, that this is like a major to him. Coming back here, playing, it's a home game. We had him the first 2 years, I think he threw out the first pitch at the Cardinals game. He absolutely loves it here. I'll tell you, the fans, here's a funny story. On Thursday of the first year, so 2 years ago, we opened up our Pro-Am on Thursday to the public. So if you want to come out on Thursday. It's great. And I had forgotten that, so I was having lunch with the commissioner of the PGA Tour Champions on Thursday, and I forgot that the grounds were open, and somebody came in and said, hey, by the way, somebody on my team, we have about 5,000 people on the grounds. And I was like, oh, wait, I forgot we did that. And then I looked at the commissioner. I said, is that normal for Thursday? And he goes, Nick, that's a good Saturday. But most of them were watching daily. Mm-hmm. About 3,000 of them were just like, he's like the Pied Piper of golf.
Amazing. Now, for people that aren't aware of it, what you and the folks at the Ascension Charity Classic want to do, and by the way, thanks to I'll let you get your partners in. The Ascension Charity Classic brought to you by...
We got Worldwide Technology. We got the great state of Missouri Tourism. which I can't thank them enough. Missouri, the state of Missouri doesn't look at this as just a 3-day golf event in North County. They look at it as a celebration for the state for the entire week. So it's Ascension Charity Classic week, according to our Lieutenant Governor, Mike Keogh. And on the Golf Channel, they use it as an opportunity to sell the state as a great place to work, a great place to play, a great place to relocate if you're a company. And so I'm really proud that it's become a moment for our entire state to sell itself to the rest of the country. Keep in mind, we're on the Golf Channel for live coverage for 8 hours and then taped coverage for another 8. There's no other PGA Tour event opposite of us. So we own golf for that week on the Golf Channel, and it really is a love letter to St. Louis.
And by the way, your friends at Emerson as well, presented by Emerson. But let's talk about what you try to emulate, because people can watch that this weekend. If they watch the PGA Tour Championship in Atlanta, that really is kind of the inspiration for the Ascension Charity Classic, isn't it?
It really is. When we started thinking about the event a couple years ago, we went and visited East Lake, and Tom Cousins, the gentleman that really created the vision there, which is create a special event and all the proceeds stay in the community to really help. If you've been to East Lake, that area where the event is has been underserved and overlooked for a long time. And now, over 20 years, they've invested $100 million, and they've changed that community completely. And so that's the model we looked at, and it is kind of serendipitous, the timing of the Tour Championship this week, and then in 2 weeks our event. And so you have two great marquee events on the PGA Tour umbrella that really are about reinvesting in the community and in urban communities. And I hope that even through this partnership with the PIF, that the PGA Tour makes a concerted effort to do more of that type of urban renewal investment through their events, and not just holding them at elite country clubs in wealthier parts of town, but trying to make investments.
And as we mentioned, this is just the third going of this, but seeing the amount of money that has been raised by the Ascension Charity Classic and how highly the players speak of it, that's the biggest part to me, is seeing that money going back to the community. What have you seen already change from that investment?
It's a great question. I just visited with Michael McMillan at the Urban League 2 weeks ago with Warner Baxter, former chairman or the chairman of Ameren, and looking at what the money actually does. We've raised now $2.5 million after this show to be over $4 million. That's a record for 3 years on the Champions Tour. But I will tell you, it's not a talking point for me. Like, I go and I visit Mary Grove, which is near and dear to my heart. I'm on the board of the Urban League and the Boys and Girls Club, and I talk to their leadership, to Dr. Fowler and to Michael McMillan, to understand what are our dollars doing? Like, how are they improving the lives of kids and making a difference? And they really are. This is not, it's not a talking point. It's not an abstract number. It's not something I say in media interviews. These are dollars that are changing people's lives. And that, at the end of the day, the golf is secondary. I would joke that, our champion was Padraig Harrington last year and David Toms the year before, but our consistent winners are our three charities.
Absolutely. So the Ascension Charity Classic starts 2 weeks from today at Norwood. Tickets available at ascensioncharityclassic.com. We do have, as we mentioned, the Tour Championship. Who do you like this weekend?
I liked Scotty Scheffler. Anytime you start with a 2-shot lead on a PGA Tour event, and Scotty has had the highest greens and regulation percentage since Tiger in 2000, which is amazing. You'd think he would have won more. He's a kind of a streaky putter, but he kind of had a minor implosion yesterday. Rory hurt his back a little bit. Colin Morikawa looks really good.
About a week back.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Rory, he has a little back problem. So, I love Scotty Scheffler, but it's kind of interesting. This staggered start, I like it a lot because, prior to that, remember, you had to do math to figure out, who was going to win the FedEx Cup. Yeah. You had to, have a degree in differential equations, which I don't. And so now they make it easier. I still like Scotty Scheffler. I think Scotty has the chance of being a historically great player. That's how good his ball striking is. He just needs to putt a little bit better.
Well, we're looking forward to the Classic. It really quickly, in the third year, has become a major part of the St. Louis sports scene, thanks to Nick Ragone. You've done magnificent work in getting it up and running, and I'm excited about being over there in a couple of weeks.
We are too. Brooke promises great weather, so we'll see.
I will try.
There we go.
I'm trying. I will try to bring it. It's great every time of year. I feel like the weather has been good.
And 101 ESPN's opening drive can provide you first alert weather, so just tune in.
Well, even better. Nice plug, Randy. This guy's like a pro.
Yes.
Well done. Nick Ragone with us on 101 ESPN from the Ascension Charity Classic starting 2 weeks from today, and it's a great weekend. It's just like if you've ever been to a regular PGA Tour event. It's set up that way, and it's as high class and as classy as you can imagine. Everything's done right over there. Coming up next, we've got The Fight on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals are back in action after an off day. They start a 3-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. It's going to be a 6:05 first pitch. On the bump for the Cardinals, righty Miles Michaelis faces off against Christopher Sanchez for the Phillies. That's Chris without an H. Sanchez on the season, 1-3 with a 3.36 ERA across 64 1/3 inning pitch. Also, St. Louis City back in action tomorrow. They face off against Orlando City SC with a 6:30 p.m. kickoff. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Karraker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Kerry Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Kyle. Kyle, how you doing?
Good, Kerry. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So, Kyle, I read your text here. It says, I want to fight Randy, and I don't even need the options. Is that still your stance?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you're going Randy Karraker style. You'll get one question where you get the options if you so choose. If not, we'll just read them like we do for Randy. You ready to go?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, only 2 players in NFL history have tallied 6 100-plus catch seasons. Brandon Marshall and who else?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Who is the active career leader in saves with 420, with 29 of those coming this season?
Kenley Jansen.
Steven Strasburg announced his retirement yesterday. Strasburg was the number 1 overall pick in 2009. Which eventual Major League starter did the Cardinals draft later in the same first round?
I guess I'll take the opposite on this one.
Michael Walker, Shelby Miller, or Alex Reyes?
Shelby Miller.
Which running back put together the greatest 3-year run of scoring in NFL history, tallying 69 touchdowns in 48 games?
Walter Payton.
All right, let's double check the score and bring in Randy Karraker.
All right, Kyle, how do you feel?
I feel good because it's Friday.
Well, that's always a great day. Intriguing choice going with no options. I think you might
like it.
You might have done yourself justice had you gone with the options there, pal. I don't know. might have helped you out a little bit more. Randy is coming in. He's eating a banana and has his diet Dr. Pepper.
You betcha, sir.
Randy, say hello to Kyle.
Kyle, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Randy. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing.
All right, thanks for having me.
Kyle decided not to take any options. Similar to what you do, took one option.
Good for him.
He played Randy Karraker style.
I admire that.
He's ready for the fight, and I hope you are as well.
I'll try to be.
All right, you ready?
Ready.
Only 2 players in NFL history have tallied 6 100-plus catch seasons. Brandon Marshall and who else?
6 seasons of 100-plus catches. We didn't have a 100-catch season until 1984 when Art Monk did it. So I'm assuming this has happened in the last 30 years. So let's see. Did Calvin Johnson play long enough to get 100? It's so you've got Julio, who's piled up all those yards, but I think he was hurt too much. Kind of surprising that Brandon Marshall is one of the 2.
Intriguing.
That's good.
Especially
let me just. So you got Calvin.
Bad teams, bad quarterbacks, throw to one guy.
Yeah, true. Our guys didn't do it. Torrey and Isaac didn't do it. Jerry Rice, they just didn't throw the ball enough. So it's. I think I will go with. Well, you also had the long career of Fitzgerald, but his quarterbacking was pretty good too. Because he had Kurt and Carson Palmer. And he is second all-time in reception. So I think I'll make that move. I think I will go with Larry.
All right. Who is the active career leader in saves with 420, with 29 of those coming this season?
29 saves this season. Hold on here. Let's see. It's not the Angels guy. 420 saves right now. That's interesting. Cards, Cubs, Reds, Dodgers. You know what? I think I'll go with Kenley Jansen. I was thinking about Kimbrel, but I don't think Kimbrel has 29 this year. I'll go with Kenley Jansen.
Steven Strasburg announced his retirement yesterday. Strasburg was the first overall pick in 2009. I'm just reading the paper.
Oh, okay. Good.
Was the number 1 overall pick in 2009, which eventual Major League starter did the Cardinals draft later in that same first round.
It should be 09. Okay, so Waka was taken in 12, 11, 10, 2009. So the Cardinals would have finished 2008 in the middle of the pack. Who would have come up in like the 2012 range? Who's a starter that came up with a lot of hype and then wound up flaming up like all the other Cardinal starters do? Okay, Waka. Just let me go through numbers here. So 29. Reyes wasn't first rounder. He was an international signing. 30. I don't have 31, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kerry, I think I'm going to go with number 40, Shelby Miller.
All right.
Or number 40 for the Cardinals. He wasn't the 40th pick or anything like that.
Question number 4. Which running back put together the greatest three-year run of scoring in NFL history, tallying 69 touchdowns in 48 games?
69 touchdowns in 48 games. You'd almost think that it had to be LaDainian Tomlinson, who had, something like 38 in one season, so 48, 58. I'll do the lifeline here. I can't imagine that somebody would have been able to beat LT, but I'll do the lifeline here just in case.
Okay. Priest Holmes, Sean Alexander, or LaDainian Tomlinson?
I'm going to go LT.
Kyle came in with some bravado, texted in he wanted to fight, and he was going to do it Randy style. Little spoiler alert. It was a close fight with both fighters not taking the option. So, was Kyle able to come in on a Friday and leave triumphant with a Randy-style win? Or does Karraker Megamind go into the weekend with another victory? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Karraker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
I'm sorry, Kyle. Randy Karraker just beat you 3-2. That last question ended up being the difference maker.
Yeah, I should have went with that was my gut, honestly, but I thought Walter Payton was better, so.
It's tricky. You always wonder around that 31 touchdown record-setting year by Tomlinson. How did he do around that? Well, he scored a lot of touchdowns the years around that as well. Only 2 players in NFL history have tallied 6 100-plus catch seasons. Brandon Marshall and the man who did it 6 times straight for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Antonio Brown, who is the active career leader in saves with 420. He has 29 of them coming into the season, which means he has overtaken Craig Kimbrel during the year, and that is Kenley Jansen, the current active leader in saves in Major League Baseball. Steven Strasburg announced his retirement yesterday. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2009 when later on in that same first round, Shelby Miller was drafted by the Cardinals. And LaDainian Tomlinson actually has 2 different two different 48-game stretches where he scored 69 touchdowns. Wow. He has the one that ended with his record-setting year where he scored 66 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving, or he has the one where the first year that the record-setting year is the middle year, and then he has 61 rushing touchdowns and 8 receiving touchdowns. So he has 2 different spans where he is the greatest touchdown scorer in NFL history. LT, the answer for number 3, a 3-2 win for Randy Karraker. Kyle, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Well, thanks for letting me fight. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Good performance.
Randy Karraker.
I hit him with a good performance.
Shame
Randy
on you.
had the vat on the back of him.
Shame on you.
This is a tribute, Matthew.
Shame.
You going to do the other one?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. Come on, I wouldn't. Would I really do that?
Oh, how about that?
Unloaded the clip. You don't unload the clip very often in the calendar year 2023.
Kyle's great. I love Kyle. I love people that have the guts to do that, because that's hard.
And it's hard. And you know what? He actually picked a pretty good fight to do it, and he got 2 right. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, very good job. Very good job. St. Louis City SC is on the road in Orlando City. I wonder who calls it Orlando City. But we're going to next segment when we preview St. Louis City trying to maintain first place in the West. Next on 101 ESPN.
the play.
Oh, that's completely given away. And it's an equalizer.
In a word,
Chaos.
Oh, it's a giveaway to Klaus, who clips it over Sestego and scores a wonderful goal.
We're breaking down City SC on the opening drive in our weekly segment we like to call Controlled Chaos.
Brought to you by Keystone Event Staffing. Better people mean better events.
St. Louis City SC has won back-to-back MLS regular season games against Austin last week, and they're at Orlando to take on Orlando City tomorrow night, 6:30, and you can see the game on Apple, and a lot of good things happening for St. Louis City SC. First among them, we'll get to Klaus in a moment, but City, at the moment, the most successful expansion franchise in league history, has 44 points. Their goal differential is plus 19, which is far and away the highest in the league, not just in the Western Conference. Next closest is plus 15. The Columbus Crew are at plus 15. So St. Louis dominating in that aspect of things. And they have a 4-point advantage over LAFC in the Western Division, so Western Conference. So at the moment, one of the most successful expansion franchises in the history of pro sports in America.
It is. Do you think that this is almost a Cinderella story, maybe on the national media side? Because if you guys remember, City SC, before the season started, was picked last by a lot of media enthusiasts, which, I mean, can you be an enthusiast if you pick them last? I feel like we knew here that they would possibly be successful. I don't know if we imagined this level of success, but with everything they had set in place, the stadium ready, the training facility ready, bringing over some really core pieces, and João Klaus, which I know that we're going to talk about later, and Roman Berkey and Leuven, those guys, bringing those guys together, I think we knew internally that they would have success, but it seems like everywhere else, they didn't think this was going to happen. So is this a Cinderella story of a season for everybody else in national media, I guess, when they're looking?
I would say so. And the thing is, Lutz Pfannenstiel is a spectacular talent evaluator. And I don't blame people for picking St. Louis City SC to finish last because they just didn't know. Like, we didn't know until they got really going. They thought, oh, well, all they saw was a bunch of names on a sheet. They hadn't seen these guys play. Then all of a sudden they start playing, and then the soccer media nationally takes notice and says, oh, they're pretty good. They've got a system. They've got players that fit into their system. They're well coached. As Bradley Carnell told us the other day, they have incredible support at home that energizes them. Everything that they could have dreamed of, I would think, over at City Park has happened so far this year.
And you point out the home is a big thing because they only have 4 home matches, and Taylor Twellman was like pointing this out big time when he joined Balloon Party earlier in the week. Talked about the 4 home matches, and for me, the big thing is that 2 of those 4 home matches are LAFC and Seattle, who beat you, who are the only teams that have really taken advantage of you and got your number, and that's with 2 3-0 wins away at their stadium. If you can win those games, especially that last one against Seattle going into the playoffs, I mean, talk about momentum, talking about just dominating your conference.
And with what Bradley Carnell has been able to do, I love hearing him talk, the way that he explains things. Just listening to him, I'm like, I want to go play for that guy. So it doesn't surprise me that he's able to get the most out of these guys. But you look at the injuries that they've had this season, and you are going to get some players back. But elevating the new players, a lot of the new guys that they've been able to bring in just this inaugural season, they have been able to really mesh into the system well. That shows you how organizationally sound that they are, that the message is getting through even from the guys in City 2 to where when they get that opportunity to come up, they're already making an impact.
Well, it starts with leadership, and they had, before they even got to their season, they had time together. They were here a year before they started everything, so you get to become familiar with your teammates, both on and off the field in practice and off the field hanging out, and you know who those guys are. You kind of learn their character, you learn their work ethic, and I think all of that allowed them to have the success that they're having right now. It formed a bond that put them in a position where they are right now, and so it's really good. And again, from the top down, we talked to Bradley Carnell, we talked to Lutz Pfannenstiel. We hear them and how they express what it means to play for that organization, how hard they're going to work, how much they're going to rest, but they're going to work their butt off in training and making sure that they're prepared for anything that comes at them.
So tomorrow night,
you have a beautiful voice.
Coming to town.
I like that song there. That was
He
nice.
knows when you've been sleeping. He knows if you're awake.
Yeah. It's not 100%. We're going to see more Thorson.
Thor.
We're going to
V.
Joakim Nielsen.
Joaquin
might it looks like he's going to start the game, which obviously after the defensive lapses last time, that's getting somebody back they keep talking about being one of the best center backs in the entire league could be huge. And then hopefully João Klaus comes off the bench. And again, I would probably guess it's one of those 20-minuters where he comes in right there around the 68th,
the microwave
70th minute mark.
Can we nickname him the microwave?
Just get things like Vinny Johnson.
Yep, heat up in a hurry.
We got a text here. Somebody was asking like what is the format of the playoffs so they can kind of gauge how City does. Here's the thing. You won't have to worry about this because your team's cruising, but there is a play-in match, a wild card play-in match. So the top 9 teams technically make it. There is then a wild card matchup, two games, and then there's the aggregates and the tie and that kind of thing. So the winner of that is then the 8th seed, and then you have Classic breakdown from there, 1 versus 8, and it is best of 3. 2 matches, obviously, at the better record, 1 away. So that's the first round. Then the second round is going to go exactly how you think, which is single elimination.
And we'll have home field, right?
Yeah.
We being St. Louis City SC. Here's how ironic that what Jimmy Butler was to the NBA, Lionel Messi in Miami will be to
Inter
MLS.
Miami?
Yep, get the A seed and take it off.
Yeah.
I'm really happy they're not in the Eastern Conference.
Me too.
No.
He's just.
You scared?
I mean, he did it again. He did it again in the semifinal of the Open Cup against Cincy. I mean,
last in their division.
It doesn't matter. They haven't.
They are.
It doesn't matter.
That's 20. I can't have.
They're
14 games.
They're going to be an 8 or 9 seed, which means they're going to play in a wild card round, and they will win that game.
14 points.
They haven't seen City SC yet.
Well, they did.
He has not seen City SC.
He hasn't.
You know what? One thing about soccer, most sports. Okay,
what'd you say, Rock?
But this sport, okay, this sport, you can't score if you don't have the ball.
Well,
technically,
he's really good at getting the ball.
Not as good as we are as keeping
Randy, he became the best player in the world on a team that was entirely based off possession soccer.
Mbappe is the best player in the world. Future St. Louis City SC.
I think he won the World Cup. Like, he was the best player on the Argentina team that just won the World Cup.
Yeah, it was all supporting
They got 11 games left, Inter Miami does.
They're going to win 9 of them.
Is that 12? Maybe 12.
12.
So tomorrow night, 6:30 on Apple, you'll be able to see St. Louis City SC. And it really is an entertaining brand of soccer. The sport is great. So they'll don the kits, they'll hit the pitch, and try to come away with victory for our side.
Nicely done. By the way, 3 and 4 says
anything there?
They still haven't. That Messi still hasn't scored on a world-class keeper. You know what City has?
A world-class keeper.
You're darn right about that.
Yeah. Wait till he gets a load of our physicality. He's a little fella, right?
Yeah,
he is.
He's 5'6".
Dealt with.
You can't even headbutt him. A normal-sized person can't even headbutt the guy.
Ram, if he's one, just say it really demonstrably. He's never played in the Premier League. He doesn't know what physicality is.
Yeah. He doesn't know he never played in our league, which is the Premier League.
So. I do think it's fun kind of watching him. If you've seen him in these matches, is that he kind of scans the field and then just quick bursts of things. But in those bursts, he's making a huge difference.
Did you guys see the security that he has running up and down the field with him?
No, I haven't seen that part of it.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Oh, I feel like he needs it, though, right?
I feel like this is...
No, this is true.
Oh, no.
We're
Is this going to be a joke?
Carrie, we're getting set up here.
No, you are.
I
This is
feel like,
unbelievable.
uh-oh.
Okay, I am going to... I'll tweet this.
Set up.
Okay, I'll retweet it. It's on... hold on. It's on the X. Eurofoot. Check out Eurofoot. Okay. I'm going to retweet this. You know what? I'll just retweet it for you kids right now because I love you so much. If I can find it. Here we go. Retweeting. I'll quote it and I'll say amazing, and then just go to your Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter, and just check out this guy running up and down the sidelines to keep an eye on Messi and make sure that nobody lays a finger on him. Big old bald guy. And here it is. During Inter-Miami matches, Leo Messi is followed by an ex-U.S. Navy SEAL for maximum security.
Intriguing.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow.
How about that?
A Navy SEAL. That's exactly what you need.
Well,
oh my God. There's a video under this post showing this guy of Messi taking pictures with fans, and whenever a fan would put their arm around Messi, the guy walks up behind and pulls their arm down.
As he should.
Well, that's what he's getting paid to do. I'd hope that he would be doing that. He has to pay attention to him.
Does he actually run?
Well, no, he just kind of. All he has to do is walk up and down the sidelines.
You know the veteran ref when you're playing pickup basketball, like when you're playing in a rec league, like that guy. He just kind of meanders around the half court the entire time and calls it as he sees it. Kind of like he's covering ground that he needs to.
That's intriguing. I wonder how that feels to have someone just following you everywhere you go.
Probably get used to it.
A little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool. So anyway, if you just go to my X or Twitter page, my name is Randy Karraker, at Randy Karraker, Karraker. You can see it. I just retweeted it, so it's pretty cool. I think you'll like it. I think it'll be fun to watch that security that Messai has. That's controlled chaos right there on the opening drive. Next up, the Rush Hour Reset.
It's time to recap the biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Brought to you by Clubhouse Turf, your exclusive partner of Celebrity Greens. We're redefining private golf.
9:03 in St. Louis. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler, with Brooke Grimsley and Super Bowl champ Kerry Davis. I'm Randy Karraker. Brooke's neck. What part of your neck is bothering you there, Brooke?
It's the side.
The back of her neck.
I've decided it's the side.
How long do you think she's had?
About a week back.
No, it's the side. No, it's the side.
Okay, I was trying to give it a shot. Cardinals at Philly tonight. They'll send Miles Michaelis to the mound against Chris without an H.
Carter?
Yeah, it's no, it's Chris Sanchez.
Oh,
Chris Sanchez is going to be playing.
That's close.
Yeah, it is. Katie Wu at The Athletic does magnificent work. You hear her, obviously, all the time on the opening not the opening drive. You hear on BK and Ferrario.
Am I Katie Wu? Is that what you're saying? I'll take that.
Oh, man. Yeah, she does a really good job. But she's asked, any chance we see a managerial change at the end of the season? She said, quote, it won't be the most popular answer with the fan base, but I don't anticipate any changes to Cardinals leadership. Mozeliak's future is the most clear. Mozeliak signed a 2-year contract extension in February, which will take his tenure through 2025, and principal owner Bill DeWitt Jr. has already pledged Mozeliak will finish that term. Gersh, whose contract is good through 2024, likely isn't going anywhere either, though both he and Mozeliak surely are already feeling mounting pressure to build a competitive club next year. Marmol's contract also expires after the 2024 season, and it's unlikely the Cardinals would cut ties with the second-year manager at this time. So she doesn't anticipate any changes to the Cardinals' leadership structure, and obviously doesn't anticipate much improvement in fundamentals.
I'm not. I see what that last little jab there, Randy.
I think that last part was you.
No, that was me.
Okay.
That last little jab there. I think that it's very accurate with what she's stating because, one, with Ollie Marmol, you can't go through, I'm sure in their minds, another manager when you've gone through so many so far because they have completely bought in since Mike Matheny that it's going to be the manager is going to be a former player or somebody who has Cardinals ties or somebody who's been a part of the Cardinals organization and first-year managers. Those are the three common thing. That's the common thing that you see amongst those three, right? With Mike Matheny, Mike Schild, and now Ollie Marmol. So abandoning things, I'm sure in their minds with Ollie Marmol would be like admitting that we made a mistake here, and they would have to go in a completely different direction.
And they are not a group that ordinarily admits mistakes.
No.
So, no, I wouldn't anticipate any changes either. And hopefully, magically, things will get back to improving.
I don't know that magic is going to help.
Magic.
You kind of need some magic.
I don't know. If we don't anticipate any changes in the offseason to the coaching staff, is every little bit of change for next year as opposed to this year will just happen because of the players on the field? Every little bit of it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Carey, as a guy who played a lot of seasons on the field and saw a lot of teams get put together on paper and in the offseason, how's that going to work out?
Yeah, you gotta coach them up. You gotta go play. Yeah, you gotta be coached up. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just happen. We don't just roll the ball out there and we don't play on paper.
Don't play the games on paper.
So. Not the 2:00 meeting. So maybe that's a good follow-up question with this is say, okay, you're going to go with this plan. Nothing changes going into next season or even moving forward.
I'd be thrilled.
What would need to change? What would need to happen in these next coming seasons for them to maybe realize that you need to have somebody else outside the organization coming in, a fresh set of eyes, somebody who isn't afraid to maybe bring up something that might not make them happy? I guess what I'm saying is not a yes man.
It seems to me that if they aren't prepared to make any changes after a season like this, they're saying that everything's cool. And obviously they aren't happy with the results, but what they're telling me is that they think that they're really smart and that this is a fluke.
Well, I don't think so. I've said this all along that I didn't think Ali and his staff were the reason for why it was going so bad. It just was guys got to play better. And if they aren't playing better, you got to get better guys. And who does that fall on? That falls on upper management and the people on the field. And at times, it was really bad in terms of what people were doing or not doing, whether it was at the plate, in the field, bouncing balls around, throwing the balls all over the place, just not taking care of their responsibilities. As a team and as a player, your job is to hold each other accountable, do your job to the best of your ability, because if you don't, you won't have a job much longer. And so that's on the front office to get people in there that can play at a high level, that can pitch at a high level, and perform when the time is called for them to perform. And if they're not, then the players have to. You can't coach bad players, if that makes sense. You can't coach bad players to be good players if they're not good enough. Now, if they're good enough and just aren't doing the minor detailed things, then yes, some of that can fall on coaching. But if it's simple things as throwing the ball to the right base or throwing the ball to the first baseman in the right spot, not over his head, making your pitches in the right spot instead of missing your spots. When the pitch is called for you to, when I see the catcher butt on the ground and the ball is left hanging up over the middle of the plate and then I see it go over the fence, I can't coach that. That's on the players to perform that. And if they can't do that properly, then you got to get better players in there that can.
Yeah, and I know that we were talking about they haven't exactly maybe admitted things, but I know that John Mozeliak did say that this is the roster that Oli Marmol has been handed. When you look at roster construction, we definitely can look at roster construction this season and say there were some mistakes made here. So that is on the front office, that is on the organization, and they have to make those improvements going to next season. Now, when it comes to elevating talent, when you have this much of a drop-off, I think with anybody, regardless if it was Oli Marmol, if it was, Tony Roos or anything like that, if you have a season like this, you're definitely going to call into question the players, but you're also going to look at the manager and the coaching staff because you have to, right? You have to wonder how we got to this point, and you also look at the front office. So as an organization as a whole, you start to question what led to this, because I don't think this was just necessarily a one-off season. There was a lot of things that led up to what we saw this year.
Dramatic changes need to be made, and it starts, by the way, with adding. If you have a young catcher like Ivan Herrera and a rather inexperienced catcher like Kisner, it would benefit your organization to have an organizational catching instructor. Yeah. It just would. If you have young outfielders that look like they struggle out there, like Jordan Walker and Alec Burleson, and a new outfielder in Tommy Edman, might be a good idea to have a veteran coach out there, taking nothing away from Willie McGee, but somebody that teaches also, in addition to Willie, the fundamentals of playing that position. Now you're going to have Mason Wynn on the infield. Stubby Clapp is a fine coach. I hope that he's the guy to help Mason Wynn come along as a shortstop when, by their own admission, Paul DeYoung's physical abilities began to deteriorate. They just didn't change anything. They didn't adjust. They didn't coach him up. And now I guarantee you that he'll go to San Francisco and he'll be a different player because they have a great coaching staff there. And Gabe Kapler and Farhan Zaidi, they do a great job of putting players in their best position to succeed. And I think that's all I ask for the Cardinals. Put all of these players, young or old, in the best position to succeed.
I think that makes the most sense. And when you are put in that position, when you're given that opportunity as a player, you got to perform. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times this season, guys haven't performed to that level that was expected or that is required for this team to have success. And I think that's what it boils down to. I'm sitting here thinking about, when I played, doing everyday drills. We would do our bags and our individual drills would be bags or cutting, things like that. But there are some things that you don't do every day, which is like blocking and hitting the sled. You may have to do that after practice. You may have to catch 100 balls with the backup quarterback after practice because you're not going to get that type of repetition during practice. During practice, we're focusing on the scouting report, what this opposing team is going to do and how we're going to attack them. So there are things as a player that if I want to stay sharp or get better at, I have to do on my own time. And that goes for any professional athlete.
That's Carey. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. And that's today's Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to head to the Celebrity Line, and our friend, the voice of the Cardinals on Bally Sports, Chip Carey, joins us next on 101 ESPN.
DraftKings at Casino Queen is getting social. Cut out of the office early and indulge in Bridgeway's daily social hour from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. 5 specialty cocktails and 5 chef-selected appetizers for just $5 each. You don't have to wait for the weekend to get social. Play, stay, and dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Bridgeway.
In a world where down payments are out of control.
But I've only got $29.
You need Frank Lita Mitsubishi in the automotive outlet in Bridgeton. Hop in if you want to live.
Really?
Nah, I'm just being dramatic.
Big down payments have met their match. At Frank Lita Mitsubishi, every vehicle is $29 down. $29.
Stop. You need $2,000 down. Frank Lita wants to get you approved, even if you've been turned down elsewhere.
Every vehicle is $29 down. And you get a lifetime warranty, no charge.
We're not going to make it!
Spoiler alert, we're here.
$29 down.
$29!
With 2.9% financing, 2.9 for 60 months.
At Frank Lita Mitsubishi.
In the automotive outlet in Bridgeton.
YesLita.com.
YesLita.com.
23 Outlander Sport, 28.7, 29 down, $515 a month for 60 months at 2.9% APR. Plus tax tag title to qualified buyers.
Open up your 101 mobile app for your chance to win a $50 Fandango gift card. One card usable for thousands of theaters. Enjoy the gift of movies and get entered to win that free $50 Fandango gift card now, either online at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
These fan bases, especially in Philly, I've heard that the brotherly love is not exactly there for people from the outside coming in.
And I would think, Chip, especially when you were doing the Braves games, because the Braves were always so good, I would think that there was a little bit of extra animosity on the part of Philly fans for Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, I learned things about my family I never knew. It was terrific. No, but they're great, passionate fans up here. Their ballpark's one of my favorites. I know that the Cardinals people have not come here all that often. I mean, it's once a year. But, yeah, this was always a special place to come visit. The fans are passionate. The games are great. The ballpark's awesome. The booth is terrific. And the people behind the scenes really make us feel like we're at home. So it'll be nice to catch up with old friends here and hopefully play a little better here than we did across the state over in Pittsburgh.
Well, Chip, we were talking about this earlier in the show and throughout. The fortunes of the two teams with the Cardinals and Phillies have really changed after the playoffs last year. What's your take on the changes that we've seen from both sides? Obviously, the Phillies getting hot again right when they need to.
Yeah, pitching. I think Dave Dombrowski's done a remarkable job of, he changed managers. They needed a different voice in their dugout. Joe Girardi's a terrific baseball guy, but for whatever reason, his message wasn't resonating, and it goes hand in hand with having a better bullpen and having really good starting pitching. Last year, they put Ranger Suarez in the rotation. He took off. You know about Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Those two guys are going to pitch as well against the Cardinals. And Dombrowski went about and fixed his bullpen and did a great job in doing that. And some of the problems that we've seen with the Cardinals this year were similar problems the Phillies had. They'd have to win a game 2 or 3 times a game, and when they'd get to the 6th or 7th inning, it was a flip of the coin as to whether or not you would hold a lead. So I think the Phillies, in many ways, are a good blueprint for what the Cardinals hope to accomplish in 2024 and beyond. And look, they're the reigning National League champions. It'll be a good barometer and litmus test for the Cardinals to see how they stack up against them starting tonight.
Chip, a couple of these younger pitchers have done a pretty good job. Dakota Hudson, Zach Thompson, in their starts. What are you seeing from them and going forward for the 2024 season?
Consistency, carry, confidence, and they're throwing strikes. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can't walk people. I mean, I think we tend to overcomplicate the game. If you walk people, you're asking for trouble, and they haven't done that by and large. Hudson's thrown that slider. It's been a lot more of an effective pitch for him. He's not just relying on ground balls, and he's been able to throw a lot more strikes and a lot more consistently than ever before in a Cardinal uniform, which is really, really exciting. And these guys all have an opportunity. Zach Thompson, too, pitched pretty well against the Pirates. They know what John Mozeliak has said about the need for the Cardinals to acquire more starting pitching and to acquire starting pitching depth in the organization. And if they want to stay, what they've been doing, I think, is a really good barometer and a good indicator of what's possible for them, not just now, but going forward.
Cardinal broadcaster Chip Carey with us on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. And Chip, there's an old adage, you've been around baseball all your life, and there's an old phrase that I've always adhered to: don't believe anything you see in March or September. And for this year's Cardinals, I've extended that to August and September because of the circumstances at play. That being said, I want to get your take on what you've seen in this first week of Richie Palacios.
Oh, he's very exciting. He brings energy. He plays center field like he knows what he's doing out there. He swings the bat well from the left side. Obviously, he and his brother put on a show in Pittsburgh. And his emergence, if you will, allows the Cardinals to put Tommy Edman at second base and gives the team a whole lot of range at second and improve, an infield defense that should on paper be a lot better than it has been, at least in the early days of this season. So he's been a nice addition. He and Mason win both. Young players bring energy. Young players bring excitement because you don't know what you're going to get. And I think the Cardinals have to be very pleased with what they've seen from Richie, both in the field and at the plate.
And that's what I was getting at, is he's got a skill set. I don't know if he's a 140-game player, but he can run. He hits the ball hard. We know he can go get it in center field. He's a valuable, it seems like, his skill set is a valuable skill set to have on a team that has a chance to win.
No question. Look, I don't know if he's going to be an everyday guy or not, but let's assume he's not. But as a fourth or fifth outfielder, a guy that hits from the left side, can help you double switch defensively, who can pinch hit for you. Those are all very valuable things for any club, and certainly one like the Cardinals that are looking for those kinds of things going forward. So I'm really happy for him. He's a guy that's bounced around a bit, and to have the kind of series he did with mom and dad watching and being interviewed by Jim Hayes was really a cool thing.
We're going to talk about this next in our next segment, but you've seen it this season with the Cardinals. What do you think it is that sometimes where they're being outscored in the first inning? Randy has a stat here, 89-69 in the first inning this season. What do you think that is with the Cardinals?
I just think it's one of those crazy quirks of baseball. Tom Glavine went to the Hall of Fame and gave up a ton of first inning runs, and his attitude was, well, if I'm going to have a bad inning, I'd rather have it in the first, so my team has 8 or 9 innings to come back and catch up. Obviously, it's not ideal. I think some of it is it takes these guys time to ease into the game, which is never a good thing. Look, if you come in and attack and throw strikes, you have a great chance of being successful. And to our earlier question, that's exactly what some of these guys in the rotation and bullpen have been doing. Jojo Romero is another example in relief. He's not afraid of the moment. He comes in and throws strikes and dares the hitter to beat his best pitch, and more often than not, they're not able to do that. So whether it's giving the hitters too much respect or not having enough confidence in their pitches or the big moment or the third deck on the stadium, all of those things factor in. But the bottom line is, if you throw strikes, it's a game of failure. You've got a 75% chance of getting the guy out. If you don't throw strikes, you have a 0% chance. So play the odds, throw strikes, and attack these guys and see what happens.
Chip, you were talking about pitching that the Cardinals need. It made me think about Shohei Ohtani, who just got injured. Steven Strasburg just retired. Is there a fear from some organizations of spending big money on pitchers because you just don't know what could happen?
Yeah, I don't think you know what's going to happen with any player. Look, Tyler O'Neill's been on the IL. Lars Nootbaar's been on the IL 3 times. Brendan Donovan, not a pitcher, messed up his ligament in his elbow. He's been on the IL. Tommy Edman's been hurt. I mean, it's just the nature of pro sports. Unfortunately, the pitchers are volatile commodities. Personally, I think a lot of that comes from guys throwing max effort with every single pitch over 5 innings. instead of keeping a couple of miles per hour in reserve when they need it in a big moment in the game. That's my belief. I don't know that I have any data to back that up, but it does seem like we're seeing more and more arm injuries in today's game in the last 30, 40 years because of the preponderance of velocity instead of the art of pitching. But that's how the game has changed, and I think it's just sort of part of the recipe of the cake that's baked in. You have to accept that risk, but hope for a bigger reward. And thankfully, with the improvements in medical technology and what Tommy John went through and all the improvements in science and recovery and sports medicine, guys get hurt, but it's not the death sentence for their careers, which if you're looking for a bright silver lining, I guess that would be the only one.
All right, Chip Carey, if you are on a walk this morning in Philadelphia, paint the picture for us. Who's on the walk with you, and what landmarks are you passing?
I went on a 10-miler yesterday. So today I'm a little bit cranky and creaky. So I'm gonna walk the mean streets of Philadelphia. I'm gonna go get a coffee and start my big league prep for the game. However, yesterday walked by the Reading Terminal Market, walked past City Hall, walked across Broad Street, went down the Schuylkill River and saw the row houses where the crew boats are, and past the Art Museum. Brian Shapiro, our producer, refused to get a picture with the Rocky statue because the line was too long. So we saw the other tourists doing that and made our way back. But it's a cool, cloudy day here. Looks like we're going to have no problems with rain. A big storm passed through last night, and looks like the nice weather is going to greet the Cardinals and Phillies at 7 o'clock.
Well, Chip, we really do appreciate how much fun that you guys have, especially you and BT have really brought a lot of energy, and I'm glad that you guys escaped from the lantern bugs. That was scary.
Yeah, it was scary. I was worried I was going to be eaten alive by this. We had a plan. We actually had a plan. The salt guns, that you used to shoot the bugs with. We were going to try to get those into the stadium, but we didn't think we'd get them past security. And if the game got bad, we were going to sit in the booth like 6-gun shooters and fire away at the bugs flying in front of the booth. But that didn't come to pass. And then our second plan was to have Jim Hayes have one of those electric fly spotters that looked like a tennis racket.
Yeah.
And not tell him that we put a battery in it, turn it on, and lick it and see what would happen. But that didn't happen.
Oh.
Maybe we'll do that this weekend. You never know.
You said you wanted to make it fun. Now that is fun.
Yeah. It would certainly be unforgettably good to you.
Chip, have a great weekend in Philly. Thanks as always for the time. We appreciate it.
And happy belated birthday, Randy. You don't look a day over 29.
Thank you very much, Chip. I appreciate that.
All right, guys.
See you soon. That's our buddy Chip Carey on 101 ESPN.
Oh, and look, props to him and BT and Jim the Cat Hayes, because these games have not been the most fun, as we know, but I have enjoyed, especially when they're in Pittsburgh, following the saga with the lantern bugs. If you guys didn't see that, it was very entertaining.
They keep you intrigued.
It's fun.
Keep you tuned in, even if it's not great on the field.
It is fantastic. Coming up, as Brooke mentioned, why do the Cardinals start and finish so poorly in games? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals are back in action after a day off, starting a 3-game series in Philadelphia. It'll be Miles Michaelis facing off against Christopher Sanchez for the Phillies. You want to hear more about that series? We just had voice of the Cardinals, Chip Carey, on with Randy Karraker and Brooke, and you can catch that on the Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's podcast on 101ESPN.com and the 101 ESPN app. Also this weekend, St. Louis City is in Orlando City to face off against that squad. It is a 6:30 kickoff on Saturday evening. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
In sports is getting off to a fast start. Coaches, managers talk about it all the time, and that's one of the things that the Cardinals have done about 50% of the time this year. They've scored first about 50% of the time, but they've been outscored in the first inning by a tally of 89 to 69. And we all thought that if the Cardinal pitching, put it, I won't say we all thought. I had questions about the pitching this year because of its health. But I thought if the pitching was healthy this year with Michaelis, Flaherty, Wainwright, who we tend to forget was injured at the beginning part of the season, Matz and Michaelis, Matz, Montgomery. I thought if that group was healthy, that they would pitch well. And I believe that one of the things that's happened in the Cardinals getting outscored by 30 runs in the first inning of games, this is just my opinion because I watched Dave Duncan have real solid game plans for such a long time. I just question the game plan that the Cardinals have for their pitchers going in, or if it's not the game plan, the execution of said game plan. But there has to be a reason that the Cardinals have allowed that many runs in the first inning of games.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just, not dialed in the first inning of games, I don't want to say not prepared because I would assume that you're ready to go, but teams are jumping on the Cardinals early in games. And I think at times for me, when I'm watching that pitching, especially earlier in the season, it felt like people were trying to be too fine, trying to pick their spots instead of attacking hitters. So now you're down 1-0 in the count or you're down 2-0. And what does the hitter know? You got to throw me a strike, right? You don't have to. You can't waste another pitch outside of the zone because if you do, now I'm 3-0 and you're probably going to walk me. So I felt like at times they were just being too fine, not attacking batters, really on the defensive instead of on the offensive at times when they were on the mound.
And I think that's the big key there is attacking and setting the tone early on. It just felt with the Cardinals this season, they weren't aggressive at the start, and then you're playing from behind. And what were some of the results that we saw so many times this season? Is that they weren't able to claw their way back. And there was times that they were able to, but it was more times than not where you saw in the offense then starting to press too much because they're already behind, because it was already like 4 runs by the time that you even get to the hitters. And that's where I think that whole kind of just mindset just really started to sink in with the Cardinals, where it's just like, man, we're always playing from behind and we're always having to find a way to claw back. And that's hard to really get guys going that many times throughout the season. And I do think that it could be looked at as a preparation thing.
And as bad as the Cardinals are, they're 16 games under 500 this year. They're 20 games over 500 when they score first. 42-22 when they score first. And when the opponent scores first, they're 13-50. That goes to you guys talking about getting behind and not being able to claw back into games. There's got to be a better way when you've played as many games as the Cardinals have. They have 34 games left, and they've allowed 89 first-inning runs. And you'd also hope that, and let's just throw out this, anything after August 1st, throw that out the window. But even before then, the Cardinals were really struggling in that aspect of the game, and they need to get off to a better start. Now, the best way to do that is to be able to pitch. And here's another thing. The manager and the analytics people, they don't like bunting. But when you have,
can do that? That's
it's allowed.
Okay.
So here's the thing.
Seen it.
And this is maybe a philosophical aspect that the Cardinals should look at for 2024. When Mason Wynn is your leadoff hitter. And if you have a logical lineup where Wynn is hitting first and Nootbaar is hitting second and Goldschmidt is hitting third, and if you have Gorman, he's hitting fourth. If not, Arenado's hitting fourth and Contreras fifth. But if you can set the table with a runner in scoring position early on, and I know the Cardinals haven't been great in scoring position, but they're right around league average, 251 with runners in scoring position. If you can set it up so that you can score a run in the first, just take a look at those numbers right there. There is something to be said for Wynn taking a walk, getting on base. He gets on base about 36% of the time. Nootbaar bunting him over, and then Goldschmidt and Arenado having a chance to drive him home. You get the first inning run, you get the lead, and again, I'll repeat, the Cardinals, when they score first this year, 42-22. When the opponent scores first, 13-50. So come up with a game plan, pitching-wise, for the first inning, and then use the old Jim Leland with the Pirates plan. Leadoff hitter gets on, that was Barry Bonds. Jay Bell would bunt him over, and then Van Slyke or Bonilla would drive him home, and they went to the playoffs 3 straight years.
And I feel like you need those guys that kind of have that pulse. How many times have we talked about this season where it kind of has felt like that energy is lacking a little bit? And maybe that's because the hitters would get so frustrated, the fact that they're having to claw their way back in so many games. But you also kind of have to have a little bit of that swag, that, that fight back in order to do that, which it seems that they were lacking. Because even we talked about yesterday, the Cardinals' woes with bases loaded, and you heard Greg Amsinger talk about how you need guys who are like foaming at the mouth for those opportunities. And it doesn't surprise me that you see the woes with the bases loaded, struggling in one-run games, because you kind of need that ability, that energy, that pushback, just some sign of life. And then you have this situation where it kind of takes them a little bit in the first inning. I think that really shows that that's a chemistry and mindset issue that you're seeing with the Cardinals this season that hopefully can be addressed, but that seems to be a grander issue.
I think that there are many issues that are taking place on this team. And we thought, with the rules changes, the Cardinals would be one of the teams that would have great success from it. You thought you would see more stolen bases from the Cardinals. We are 23rd in the majors in stolen bases as a team. It's not something that they have taken advantage of. They've had opportunities. It's just not something that you see them doing. You don't see them doing the small ball things that can help you win games. And it's not something you have to do all of the time. But there is a time and place to steal a base. There is a time and place for a hit and run. There's a time and place to sacrifice a runner over so that you can get him into scoring position. It can't be, and it shouldn't be, all about driving the ball into the outfield launch angle because you're not always going to get that runner over into scoring position. You have to be able, as a team, as a manager, as a coaching staff, as a front office, you have to be a team that decides to do the little things effectively enough over and over and over again to win games, and they haven't been.
Fundamentals, right?
Yes.
You just have that as a natural part of your DNA. Have that as a natural part of your team's DNA, and you're going to be much, much better. You're going to have a much better record than the Cardinals' record is at the moment.
How many times do you think they've hit and run this season? Because a handful?
A handful,
It doesn't feel like many.
It doesn't
whatsoever.
feel like
10 or...
And then you hear the announcers, well, you don't want to distract the hitter. People have been hitting and running for hundreds of years in baseball, haven't they? Or am I mistaken?
I love the fact. I love the fact that people say that. But I watched a team steal 314 bases and nobody was bothered.
Yeah. Well,
it's amazing.
And somebody just texted in from the 314, who on the team has stolen base speed? This team isn't built that way. Yes, they are. Because I'm going to guess, actually, Paul Goldschmidt is pretty high up there if you have the stats up, CD.
He's a great percentage base stealer. But
Tommy
he
Edman is fast.
Yep.
Mason Wynn is fast, which I know that he just came up. So
Jordan
maybe
Walker
you take him
fast.
out. Jordan Walker is fast.
When Nootbaar is healthy.
Yes, he is fast. Tyler O'Neill, when healthy and not loafing it, maybe, as Ollie felt like earlier this season. He is very fast. There are several
Tommy
guys.
Edman has 17 stolen bases. Paul Goldschmidt is second.
That's
with
what
10.
I thought. Okay. Yeah.
There's a ton of athleticism on this team. There's no excuse for them to not utilize that athleticism.
No. No, not at all. And so that's where I hope that now that you saw that they're kind of falling behind in the trend with pitching philosophy, now that they're focusing and they say that they're going to look for more swing and miss stuff, I hope that they don't fall behind the trend of what you're seeing with these new rules changes, and the teams who are taking advantage of it, you should be doing the same and not behind the ball on that.
And one other quick note we need to point out, the Cardinals, in addition to being outscored 89-69 in the first inning, in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings this year, they've been outscored 200 to 172. And one of our guests, maybe yesterday, talked about completely rebuilding the bullpen, and the Cardinals are going to have to do that. They've been outscored in the 7th inning, 89 to 54. Then they've actually come back and led in the 8th inning, 70 to 57, but they've been outscored 54-48 in the 9th. So the bullpen needs a back-end guy, and it's not going to be JoJo Romero, and they need some people to bridge that 5th to 9th inning, some better people to bridge that.
Yeah, that's a problem. So you have to address your starting rotation and retool or bring in some new pieces for the bullpen this season. Because when we were talking about the Phillies, their bullpen, it seems like they're sound on so many different things. You're having your offense get hot at the right time. That's what's making the Phillies so successful. The pitching staff has to be addressed this season, and hopefully it will. The bullpen, though, this season, I feel like, where do you go from here with them?
Kick a puppy? I don't know. That's what Brad Thompson would say.
That didn't work out for him.
No, that did not. It's easy to rebuild a bullpen. They should have no problem smartly rebuilding a bullpen. They've done that before really well, and they can do it. It's not even that expensive if you just scout correctly. Mm-hmm. That's Brooke. That's Carey. Carey is shocked by what I just said.
I am. I'm appalled.
Well,
you said it's not that hard. Well, why the hell hasn't been done yet?
Well, not this year. But remember, they completely, last 2 times they won the World Series, they completely turned over the bullpen in the last month to win the 2006 World Series, and they completely turned over the bullpen at the trade deadline in the Colby Rasmus trade to win the 2011 World Series. They did it in season, so it can be done. We are going to talk some St. Louis City SC. They play Orlando City SC tomorrow, and Devin Kerr from Apple TV is going to join us next on 101 ESPN.
and roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
St. Louis City SC is at Orlando City tomorrow night, 6:30 St. Louis time. You can see that game on Apple TV. And Devin Kerr will be on the call, joining us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Devin with Brooke Grimsley and Carey Davis. This is Randy Karraker. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. How you doing?
I appreciate you having me. I'm good. I'm sitting in my car deciding at what point in time I'm going to get on the road and drive across the state of Florida to get to said game. Should be a great one, though. Very exciting stuff.
What sort of challenges does Orlando City present for St. Louis City?
Well, to me, one of the biggest things about Orlando City is you're probably looking at the most balanced team in terms of their performances, both home and away. They just seem, their style travels, and yet other teams are better on the road than they are at home. You can look at a team like Real Salt Lake. You guys have obviously seen what that looks like. And then there are plenty of teams that are obviously good at home. Orlando just kind of cruises along, and the depth that they've been able to acquire over the past 18 months has been very impressive. So to give you an idea, what you're facing in the opening 30 minutes is going to look really similar to the final 15. They have the second most goals and assists off the bench in MLS. The squad is more complete. The depth is there. And Oscar Pereira has done a really good job of just making sure that no matter what look you're getting, it's the same thing over and over again. They like to maintain possession. They can catch you on the counter. They'll high press you. They'll sit deep. They give you a little bit of everything.
Well, speaking of depth, right now, City SC is possibly getting to full strength with a little over 10 games left for them in this season. So you have some new faces arriving, and then you have some old faces getting healthy. João Klaus is one. Of course, a lot of City SC fans have been getting excited about seeing again. What do you think about his return? And it seems like he will be available off the bench in this game.
The most important thing to me about his presence in general hasn't necessarily been about his return. For sure, let's be really, really clear. You want João Klaus back, of course. Like 5 goals and 4 assists for the first 9 matches, got that team flying. But part of me wonders if you wouldn't have gotten the best out of someone like Nico Gioacchini if he hadn't gotten hurt. Now, you don't want to wish injury upon anyone, but I was talking to Nico yesterday, and I asked him about that. I said, listen, it's really easy to say what are your influences around the world and those kind of strikers, but a guy like Erling Haaland at Manchester City, one of the greatest strikers in the world, you don't get to train with him every single day. So who are your influences? And he said João Klaus. And he said that even through his injury, he has been ever present. And the ability to pick his brain and to push Nico to another level. Nines are a different breed. They call it the goalkeeper union, and those guys all stick together. A lot of nines are they're selfish, and there's ambition in there for sure. You want that. They're streaky. And they kind of stick to themselves at times because of that selfish nature, and that's not the case. So you've gotten a career year out of Nico Gioacchini in 10 goals, and he feels like he hasn't even touched what his capability is. And now you've got your 9 that you wanted all season long, who started well. They've gotten him fit. They didn't push him. To get that pairing back once again, sure, it's great to have the 9, and that's important, but it's the pairing in general because of the development you've seen of Gioacchini over the course of the season.
Now, Devin, you're headed over to Orlando. There's a guy in South Florida. I don't know if you heard about him. He's buzzing. MLS is buzzing about him. He goes by one name. I believe it's Messi. A pretty good player. What have you heard about him, and how good is he for this league right now?
Well, let's be really clear. In the footballing world, anytime you're called by one name, you've done something right? So let's get that out of the way. Look, I just called the semifinal Open Cup game between FC Cincinnati and Miami, and I witnessed it firsthand. I did it for U.S. Soccer. It was the first time that in the Messi era, with him starting on the field, that they looked bad. They didn't look like the aggressor. They were a poor team all night long. They went down 2-0. They probably could have been down 4 or 5-0. And yet it's the Messi factor. He produces 2 individual moments of brilliance in the final 15 minutes. We go to overtime, and then the team wins. He's incredible, man, and it's really, really cool. I got a haircut this morning, and my barber said to me, do you notice a change? And I certainly do, but that change, to be fair, look, yeah, it's Messi, absolutely. But the understanding of the league in general, there's just a knowledge base that was there even prior to his arrival, but this just intensifies it. So someone before was going, oh, yeah, if you're a South Florida fan, there's Inter Miami team, Can you get me tickets? I want to go check the game out. Or, I'm going to Orlando. I got friends that live there. Love the Lions. How are they doing this season? But especially, it's gone a step further now. With the step of Messi, it's, wow, Inter Miami, and they're on their Leagues Cup title run, and they just made it to the Open Cup final. That conversation did not occur on a regular basis in any area of the world, but especially where this team is located 2 or 3 years ago. So the depth of knowledge is there. People want to learn about the game. And it kind of actually reminds me a little bit about Joe Namath back in the late 60s when he came out of Alabama and went to the New York Jets. It became a social outing. People want to be seen. They want to enjoy it. Now, that's going to start to replicate itself even further as we've seen it around MLS, and it's really cool to witness it and certainly pretty fun to be a part of.
All right, final thing for Devin Kerr, who's going to be doing St. Louis City SC and Orlando City tomorrow. As you're driving along I-4 in Florida and you're going 80 miles an hour today, is that slow?
But if this is documented and I admit to it, then I can be prosecuted in the court of law. Come on, man.
No, I just wonder if you're getting passed by a lot of cars. If you're only going 80 in Florida on a highway, are you getting passed by a lot of vehicles?
If you're on I-4, there's a chance you're getting passed. If you're in South Florida on 95, you are going Mach 1 with your hair on fire because let's get this clear. South Florida and the northern Florida or central Florida, that's like different countries, honestly. It's crazy.
All right. Hey, Devin, we'll be tuned in tomorrow. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Let's talk again as the season rolls on.
You all are great. Best of luck. Cheers.
Thank you. Devin Kerr. He'll be calling City SC against Orlando City tomorrow night on Apple. Hey, 101 ESPN is your chance to win a pair of lawn tickets to see Shinedown with special guest Papa Roach next Sunday night, September 3rd, night before Labor Day at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. And you can also find a bonus chance to win free tickets for the show right now on the 101 ESPN mobile app. And you can get all the details about the concert at 101ESPN.com. But text in now to score free tickets to Shinedown now at 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Okay, Matthew, what question do we have?
Well, earlier in the 8 o'clock hour, we talked about all the Cardinals who are succeeding away from the St. Louis, and maybe one who isn't. 5 of those players are pitchers. Who is the only pitcher that the Cardinals traded away to have multiple wins for his new team? Who's the only pitcher that the Cardinals traded away that has multiple major league wins for his new team?
Texter number 47.
That's a good one.
We'll get the tickets to Shinedown.
I feel like there might be a meaning behind that.
Felt the could have been 46, 48, but 47 felt right.
47.
Okay.
Cool. And as we're waiting for our listeners and our winner to get in on the text line, I have a quick question for you guys. You just heard Devin break down the matchup between Orlando City and St. Louis City. It shocks me. City not great away, 5-1-5, but Orlando City not good at home, 5-4-3.
5-1-5. 5 wins, 1 loss, 5 draws, right?
No.
No, it's
that's
what are you talking about?
It's 1 draw and 5 losses.
That's not. That's
yeah. Sorry, buddy.
Okay.
And they also show the home team first when the table comes out.
Yes, it's weird.
You got to make sure you explain that. I was confused.
5 wins, 1 draw, 5 losses.
Okay.
Whereas Orlando City has 5 wins, 4 draws, and 3 losses at home. Right now, you go to FanDuel Sports book, you can get City plus 320 to win this match. I know they're not good away, but I think that's a fantastic bet right now.
Good value, yeah.
Go plus 320?
Yeah.
All day, every day.
No notable.
Also, I was writing down a couple other betting lines I wanted to ask you guys about really quickly. Carey, Randy, Brooke, I need some NFL advice. I need to put down a futures bet for the Super Bowl. The top 5 teams, Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, Bengals. Chiefs plus 600, Eagles plus 800, Bills plus 900, Bengals and 49ers plus 1,000. Who's the bet?
49ers.
Bengals.
I want to go with the Eagles. I just want to do something a little bit different.
You like this book? I already have money on that one.
You do?
I do, yes.
Okay,
AFC
all right.
Championship game.
I like that.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
But here's the thing.
If that happens, I'm going Steelers.
You don't have
you worry.
There's going to be a surprise team that comes out of all of this.
Maybe we'll see what the best futures are for the surprise teams next week, Randy.
Okay, we'll do the surprise teams next week. Michelle Smallman's going to be in doing the Fast Lane this afternoon from 2 to 6, so you'll want to tune in for that. We've got a balloon party. T-Mac is going to be here at this microphone coming up in just a few minutes. I assume he is. I hope it's not me.
I really hope it's not me. I hope he shows up, or else it's just going to be me in the studio.
Yeah, right.
See, this is why we have to exit the room quickly after we're done with the show. Just in case it is us, we're already gone.
On the show at 9:30.
That's exactly right. And then we'll have BK and Ferrario from 11 to 2, and then the Fast Lane from 2 to 6. And Michelle will be here. And then on September 5th, she's starting mornings on ESPN Radio, 5 to 7 here on 101 ESPN. Thank you to our producer, audio engineer, Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, this was a great, fun week. Are you going to support local this week, or are you going to go to Target?
I always support local. There's a lot going on this week, and we have the Bommarito Automotive Group 500.
Awesome.
We have the Festival of Nations, and we have the Evolution Fest. So I'm going to try to go to as many things as possible. All local things.
Oh, yeah. Moonlight Ramble tomorrow night, too. I'll be riding in the Moonlight Ramble.
Yes.
So that's one of the great events. So good. Have fun.
Yes.
And you've got a game tomorrow night, see?
We do have a game, our first game of the year versus Luther North. Go Hawks.
What's your face? We want to see your face. Who said that? You want to see my face?
Okay.
You want to see my face?
We'll see your face tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know how Carrie's. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say.
What are you going to say?
I'm going to be nice.
Do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to run it up?
Oh.
Both teams played hard, man.
There you go.
We're just going to play hard, man. That's all I can say.
For all
Best of luck.
For all of us until Monday morning at 7. Have a great weekend, St. Louis.
That's right.